Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
And I'm Robert McNeely. Welcome to March 3rd and happy Texas Independence Day. That was celebrated yesterday, but 189 years ago, the Bill of Rights inspired Texas to leave the Mexican nation, and it was its independent nation for 9 years before it became part of the United States. So happy Texas Independence Day to all celebrating in the Lone Star State. You know, it's not a state holiday, but they actually have less staff there, so I'm not sure if that rolls into Monday since it was on Sunday.
Well, we'll see, but Lone Star State, thank you guys so much for watching us. And then many of you across our country, as we will be going live to the White House, the Roosevelt Room, President Trump to speak at about 1:30 for an announcement. That's what he talked about earlier today on Truth Social, so we'll take you there live. We have a number of live interviews to join us soon as we are just getting into the start of things here on this Monday. What a weekend, you know, as we continue on seeing various things happen just on the heels of that Oval Office fireworks situation with Zelensky and President Trump the other day. You know, Zelensky goes out to London right away, runs to mommy and says, "Can I have some more money?" You know, it's a ridiculous situation that we're seeing out there.
Yeah, and Matthew, I'd like your take on this because I saw a lot over social media over the weekend. Didn't really matter if it was a Republican background, a Democrat background. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but I think a lot of it was exposed for the American people. As President Trump said, I'm really glad people get to see this right now. And we know that Zelensky met with some Democrats prior to going to the White House where he was anticipating to sign that deal. In a sense, he blew that up in its face, and President Trump and Vice President Vance said, you know, please leave and come back when you're ready to talk peace.
Exactly. And then also all of the memes are pretty awesome out there showing Zelensky sitting there like a toddler or other things that we've seen on Truth Social and X out there. But at the end of the day, we know that today's announcement, I'm sure President Trump will address something in regards to Ukraine, Russia. We have no intel on that, but you'd think on the heels of a weekend like that, he probably will. And then on top of that, you know, let's let President Trump do the talking on this when it comes to the specifics of which way he wants to take the country when it comes to, you know, the UK saying, okay, well, we're going to give you $200 billion and we might give you some of our troops as well to help you fight against Russia. I mean, President Trump was serious when he said you could be, you know, messing with World War III here. This is not to be joked around with. Maybe Zelensky is going to sign the minerals deal. Who knows? We're going to hear this announcement today, but wow, that I'm still saying wow from last week.
Oh, yes, it's really something to see. And this is what's so good about the Trump foreign policy, the peace through strength and putting America first. You simply do just that. You can be on the side of, I don't want people to die. It does not mean you're for Russia. It does not mean you're for Ukraine. And I think the whole Crossfire Hurricane and Russia hoax has truly been exposed. But yet there are some who keep saying that, oh, this is Russian propaganda. No, it's not. It's purely someone who wants to stay on the side of life. That's President Trump. And recognizing that 1.5 million people have died because of this conflict. It's currently a stalemate, and it must come to an end in order to prevent, like you said, Matthew, World War III. I mean, Russia has nuclear weapons. It's a serious thing to look at, and we don't want mutually assured destruction. This is something that even goes back to those Cold War days.
Exactly. So actions speak louder than words. If President Trump was pro-Russia, he would have had Putin at the White House first. He had Zelensky there, and he wants to talk to Putin, both leaders, to have peace for both countries. That's pretty simple. We're seeing the proof in those actions and the words of President Trump. So we'll follow that story as we get more information. Again, President Trump will make an announcement from the Roosevelt Room in about an hour and a half from now. But still, of course, we have live interviews coming up. We'll be talking about a lot of the news, including the fact that there will be a roundtable for the First Lady at about 2 o'clock today. And then at 3 o'clock, the confirmation for Linda McMahon with the Secretary of Education situation, finally getting that ball rolling.
Yes, that's long overdue. And you know, I think this was a long delay because the teachers' unions are very upset about this because Linda McMahon has pledged to scale the size and scope down of this department, ultimately leading it back to the states. They really do not want the one-size-fits-all approach like No Child Left Behind roughly 20 or so years ago when that was signed into law, but rather giving it back to the states, because Idaho will do it different than Florida and everywhere in between, because they could focus more on the needs specifically of different districts, different states, different constituencies that will not look the same. Again, an area code should not determine someone's education and their opportunities in the future, because even Florida Governor Jeb Bush said the great equalizer in America and that great door to opportunity is education. So bring it back to the people that can make sure every child has that great opportunity.
Exactly, and this is all on the heels of tomorrow's huge speech by President Trump to a joint session of Congress. President Trump saying on Truth Social, quote, "Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is." So looking forward to today's announcement and that speech tomorrow. Before we continue on, let's talk about some great sponsors here at the network, Colonial Metals Group, and an urgent retirement warning, of course, from the group there. As we get our financial lives squared away, it's always good to have gold and silver as that high value backup.
Well, and everyone's probably thinking April 15th, we're 1 month away from that tax deadline, which is irritating to think about. So why not back up your wealth and your assets and everything you use to get ahead with gold, silver, precious metals? Go ahead, scan that QR code, shield your savings now. I mean, even Warren Buffett's taken money out of the stock market and put that into precious gold and silver for his own dividends. So scan that QR code now, you get that free guide. It details how gold has gone up 7,000% since 1971 when we went off of the gold standard during the Nixon administration. So it's really never dipped down, just keeps going through the roof.
And it's always good to go to freegoldguide.com for that free info kit /RSBN. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Let's shift over and stay in the financial sector, talk about American financing. So AmericanFinancing.net is the place to go if you're looking for a home loan or to refinance. Always good to work with patriotic people. Of course, they're going to be patriots if they're sponsoring on our network.
Yes, if you sign up with them today, they could actually delay 2 payments. So that's roughly a savings of $1,600 on average over the course of the next 2 months. And probably something good right now, especially if you own a home, given that inflation's still affecting people, and we have issues with eggs at the grocery store and those very basic needs. And President Trump working hard at getting all of this done, but takes some time after the damage of the last 4 years.
Exactly. So AmericanFinancing.net, 2 awesome sponsors, Colonial Metals Group and American Financing, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're also following some other stories out there. We're hearing that the latest on the initial DOGE findings within the Department of Defense are being released today, so we'll keep our eye on that. Also, we'll be looking into the latest on the New York State prison strike. We've received some emails from people saying, hey, cover this story. What's going on in New York State? So we'll get into that in a bit. Also, SpaceX, the 8th Starship launch is today as well. So there's just a lot going on top of all the big news in Washington.
Yes, and actually, sad story out of Germany as well. We've seen a string of trucks and vans, again, running people over. It's an awful thing, and almost always in the last few years tied to radical Islamic terrorism. So, another warning about sealing and closing your borders, and Europe really kind of reversing those policies they once had. And, with the exception of the UK, of course, but something that we have to be mindful of here as border crossings has really gone down since Trump has taken office.
Yeah, there's some percentages there we can look at here in just a minute. There's a lot of great things that have happened over the past, I think we're at 40-something days at this point of President Trump's second administration, but more than 500 days of work is done in those 40 days,
right.
It seems like. So it's great to see that. Also, we're keeping our eye on South Carolina with the various wildfires that are happening there, impacting about 4,200 acres across the state, including a number of counties. So keeping our eye on that as well. But yeah, there's just a lot going on right now. But at the end of the day, we have a whole team, as we called it the other day at that cabinet meeting, a team of all-stars in that cabinet that are working with the president that are all America first.
Yeah, and it was nice for Elon Musk to have his moment really to detail what's happening at DOGE and to talk about the fact that he's really there on behalf of the American people, serving at the pleasure of the president. And I think that's really something that was made clear in that cabinet meeting, this idea that cabinet officials would go against what President Trump wants to get done through the mandate by you, the American people. And he said, yeah, if that happens, there's the door. It's that simple. They will execute on the principles that put them there in office.
Exactly. And so back to what we were talking about, we brought up the illegal immigration numbers, and you brought
Right.
that up. So according to the White House, border security drives results. President Trump announced illegal boarding crossings in February. His first full month in office were the lowest ever recorded, down 94% from last February. and down 96% from the all-time high of the Biden administration. Can you believe that? How about the 627% increase of the amount of illegal immigrants that have been arrested by ICE? 627%.
I can't even fathom that number. I'm not a very good numbers person, but clearly
That's a lot of people, right?
It's a lot of people, right? But it's also these very violent criminals that have been removed. So something that had to be done, and they're being processed through Guantanamo Bay. Some have gone to their country of origin, and others waiting prosecution and potential further detention for their crimes. So this is stuff that we're talking about. Fentanyl crossing the border. We know what happened with Laken Riley and Rachel Morin and Jocelyn Nungary, among others, who this is all preventable crime. And it really goes back to the fact that Alejandro Mayorkas, also Joe Biden, could have done something about this border. They had the executive authority, because this proves it here. President Trump using that, along with his team of Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, also Pam Bondi, as well as the AG, to just simply enforce the law.
Exactly. And so when you have a group of winners in the White House, winning happens. And when you have a group of losers, losing happens. It's pretty simple, right? It's common sense. And that's what we're seeing right now. President Trump, 33 minutes ago, talking about what Zelensky said recently in an article, that Ukraine's Zelensky says the end of war with Russia is, quote, very, very far away. President Trump said this 33 minutes ago on Truth. This is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing. And Europe, in the meeting they had with Zelensky, stated flatly that they cannot do the job without the United States. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? And that's the president speaking about Zelensky saying that the war is very, very far away. See, Zelensky, it goes along with all of those people that are pro-war. They don't care about the people. They don't care about death. These are awful human beings. I'm sorry. That's just facts.
Well, it's very true. And Vice President J.D. Vance pointed that out in the meeting, where he was campaigning for the other team with then Senator Bob Casey, who lost to Mr. McCormick, and thank God for that, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and Governor Josh Shapiro signing missiles, signing bombs that ended up creating collateral damage. We know that to be true. Who would do that? I mean, these are warmongers. It's really terrible to think about. And how about to Zelensky? Where are the billions of dollars you used for your yachts and mansions? And it seems like it's not necessarily going to your people. Oh, and by the way, on at least 3 occasions, you've suspended elections. So this whole idea that this is a democracy is just not true. And it's sad because, again, the Ukrainian people and the Russian people are good people, incredible cultures who are being run by really bad folks. And you could look at a situation where both leaders are not the best of individuals, but still want peace and prosperity, because ultimately what's in the interest of the American people, not only our government, but the public, it's the cause of peace.
And if you travel from Russia and Ukraine and those two leaders with the great people under them, you look at places like Brazil and Venezuela, Maduro over Venezuela, Lula over Brazil, but the people are good people. They want freedom. They don't want a ridiculous leader ahead of them. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing in some of these nations out there. So we are very thankful to have President Trump here. Speaking of President Trump, freetrumpbook.com. Mike Huckabee, the great former governor of Arkansas, of course, and the ambassador to Israel, right?
Yes, so he is going to do a remarkable job there. And someone, I think, very passionate about the Post as well. We know how much he loves Israel, has gone on those trips on many occasions. And I'm always touched by his story with now Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, his successor and daughter, the youngest governor in American history, at least right now. I don't know in all-time history, but we have to go back into that. Doing a wonderful job in Arkansas, mentioning that story and asking her dad, why didn't anyone say anything? And it was such a lesson for her and for her dad at that time, as I believe she was only 12 years old when she saw Auschwitz. And he just said, you have to share this with the next generation, because freedom can be lost. We know that warning from Reagan. That's why freetrumpbook.com. So great to get the kids' guide to President Trump and the kids' guide to the courage of President Trump. They can learn why he ran for president in the first place and what policies are making America great again. So freetrumpbook.com, a great gift for those loved ones at home, those young patriots, and maybe the neighbor who doesn't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Well put. freetrumpbook.com. A great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to one of President Trump's Truth Social posts from about 2 hours ago. He said, quote, "Paid troublemakers are attending Republican town hall meetings. It is all part of the game for Democrats. But just like our big landslide election, it's not going to work for them." So I do want to get your take on what happened in Georgia and Roswell the other day.
Yes.
Before we go there, though, I remember on the campaign trail, I believe it was in New Hampshire, there was somebody that stood up in a smaller theater and started yelling things. It was at a Trump event. And that person got booed, and they got walked out by Secret Service and others, or security. And I remember actually asking this so-called heckler, I said, are you getting paid by anybody? He's yelling, and I go, "You get paid by anybody?" He stops what he's doing, stops yelling, gets quiet, and continues to walk out. I go, "Who is paying you?" And he would not respond.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Not saying specifically, I know that if he was paid by somebody, but his nonverbal communication showed he wasn't there for anything but a few bucks to yell at some event. And isn't that what we might have seen in Roswell?
It's very possible, and we will look into that too. It'd be great to have Congressman McCormick on to perhaps talk about that exchange, because the video that I shot that was it was at the City Hall. So the way it was shot, you really couldn't see the faces of people heckling. At the same time, there seemed to be this back and forth with the congressman, and it was great because he said, "Please, folks, for a moment, I cannot get my point out if you're yelling over. We can't have a discussion." And so it seemed to be as if people actually did have legitimate concerns, and that's good that you go there. This is democracy. Go and confront your congressman peacefully and patriotically, of course, not like Maxine Waters saying, "Oh, if they're at the diner, get up in their faces." No. Always shake hands, make a proper phone call, try to meet with them. They're there to serve you. But you have these town halls, and it was members from the CDC, different people who worked there that had concerns. And Elon Musk was very transparent at the cabinet meeting, saying, "Hey, there are some things that got cut that need to be fixed. This is part of the big broken bureaucracy we have. We reinstated that as well. So this will be line by line." And Congressman McCormick really taking in everyone's information. I could tell you too. He was my congressman, so someone who really tries to work with everybody, and I think did an outstanding job there handling the situation.
To President Trump's point, if they are paid troublemakers, okay, we get that. But even outside of that, the only thing that it seems like the people that have that woke mindset is just a lot of hate. So they really can't even control themselves and be respectful, like you're saying.
Right.
They have to, with all that hate in them, really speak against truth. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. That's what we see. But what's great is the majority of the nation, and I'm not saying 60%. I'm 70, maybe even 80%. Are people that are just saying, "You know what, I'm not into that woke thing. I want greatness in our country. I want the Constitution to be the law of the land." And I'm talking about Democrats and liberal, everyday Democrats as well.
Right.
They're not that woke. So this was obviously a landslide victory for President Trump, and we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say in just about an hour from now. But joining us in about 10 minutes is one of his good friends and a senior advisor, Atlanta businessman, Bruce Levell will join us. Also, we'll be joined by election expert Seth Kesel, for those of you that know him on Truth Social. And also his wife, who is now running, or actually is the representative in state government in Arizona. Rachel Kesel will join us as well. So looking forward to hearing from all three people and others as we continue our live coverage today.
Yes, it's exciting as President Trump tomorrow addressing a joint session of Congress. And so this is not a formal State of the Union. It might look the same, but just a few days into office now, just roughly 6 weeks, he'll highlight everything that has been a massive success. And we've seen so much across the board with promises made, promises kept, those 20 promises that became part of the Republican platform back in July, if you remember, from the convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But we are awaiting President Trump today to make a special announcement as well. Nice to see him return to the White House last night, actually with his father-in-law. So Melania's dad is in town, and I'm sure they're going to have a family affair today with her roundtable as well. Very excited to see that she reopened those tours as well for the East Room. If you caught, President Trump said hello to that first tour group.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. What a moment. And everybody was chanting USA as President Trump left, but he turned around and he did that traditional wave to them, and it was quite awesome. So again, just to look, I'm looking on SpaceX's website as well, just to see if we can confirm some information if they have their launch today. It does say the 8th flight test of Starship is preparing to launch Monday, March 3rd. The 60-minute launch window opens at 5:30 Central, so 6:30 Eastern. So as of now, that looks like the SpaceX launch is on, at least according to SpaceX. I'm not sure if there's any other information out there that is saying otherwise, but that's what we're seeing happen a bit later today. So there's so many moving parts in the news going on, and we're here for it on RSBN Live. Once again, I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Robert McNeely, who of course was just at CPAC just a few days ago, but also here we are doing live coverage back here at the set in Auburn, Alabama.
The friendliest village on the plains. It's a wonderful home and lovely to cover. The White House right there, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So many exciting times, and a much faster, quicker White House than just 4 years ago.
Exactly. So looking forward to seeing all of the great developments coming out of that White House. So we've seen a lot of them just in the first month. Also, outside of that, I just want to be straight up with a number of viewers are saying, well, what about the Epstein files? Why haven't they been released, in full? Well, we know that Pam Bondi asked Kash Patel to get that released, so we'll monitor it. If we see it here, we'll share it with you. So that is one story that we're keeping our eye on as well. Tax Network USA, a great sponsor here at the network. Of course, 800-357-1415 is the number. tnusa.com/RSBN.
Yes, a great phone call to make right before tax day coming up on April 15th. Make sure that you settle your back taxes and have everything in line so you don't get to do that last minute filing, and make sure that you have everything prepared for that day. Protect yourself from the IRS. 88,000 new agents under Biden. Some of them might be going to the border as well, as President Trump had mentioned. Maybe he'll talk more about that today or tomorrow. But in the meantime, tnusa.com/RSBN. Talk to our Patriot friends over at Tax Network USA. Great experts at property taxes, state taxes, the federal income tax, which who knows, that might be eliminated. We might be looking at the external revenue service a year from now.
Hey, we'll see. President Trump doing great things and his team as well. But Tax Network USA, great patriots there. 800-357-1415 is the number. Go ahead and give them a call, and they'll help you along the way. All right, so 12:24 Eastern Time, getting ready for Bruce Levell to join us here on the broadcast in just a bit. Just to review, so we know that President Trump makes an announcement at about 1:30 Eastern from the Roosevelt Room. 2 o'clock, have you heard anything about the First Lady Roundtable? Do we know any details on that? I haven't
seen any specifics, but maybe as we get closer to that, we'll see what's happening there. But I'm sure it's going to be one of her extraordinary initiatives. We know that when they were first in office, it was the Be Best that really branched out into so many different directions of health and education and actually, leadership for kids and growing up in the United States. Again, that idea that everyone has an opportunity and that a zip code should not determine exactly where you'll be in your lot in life, that you can excel and grow from wherever it is you grow up. So it's exciting to see the First Lady right back at it. And, that's been a great change, too, because Dr. Jill was somewhat of a detriment for First Ladies. And I'll criticize her because she was extraordinarily political. So yeah. There's no problem in saying that. Melania Trump, a class act and probably the greatest First Lady in a long, long time.
Exactly. So looking forward to that. That's at 2 o'clock. And then at 3 o'clock, for the Secretary of Education, that Senate vote for Linda McMahon to become the Secretary of Education, that's at about 3 o'clock. So that would leave 2 people left that have to be confirmed and voted on the Senate chamber floor. Let me get to those specifics right here. That's Elise Stefanik for the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, and then Lori Chavez-DeRemer for the Secretary of Labor. Once those 2 after today with Linda, then everybody is in their post, and we see an all systems go with our government, which we already have that right now with President Trump, because we saw the meeting the other day. I mean, Linda McMahon was in the meeting as well. So
yes.
Everything's moving forward, and we're seeing great things happen here on this Monday, March 3rd. So, yeah, a lot of news to cover.
And this will mark 21-0 for him if Linda is so fortunate to be confirmed today, which all signs seem to be pointing that direction. But it's very interesting to see how Labor will react to Linda McMahon. But then in turn, Labor should be very happy about the future Secretary of Labor. I mean, Lori is very pro-union and has been one of the more moderate Republicans from Oregon. Be interesting to see if there's any pushback from Republican senators regarding that who are, anti-union, because as President Trump showed at the Republican convention, the first time in 121 years, the Teamsters, the International Brotherhood, coming to that convention. And of course, Sean O'Brien, their president, not granting an endorsement at that point, but saying one person opened the door for us, and it was Donald Trump. Forget both mainstream parties.
Exactly. All right, so it's time for a commercial break. It's 12:26. You're watching Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is RSBN Live. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Parents, do your kids know what courage really means? It's about standing up for America even when there's a target on your back. That's why Mike Huckabee's team created the Kids Guide to the Courage of the President. This important guide tells kids everything they need to know about President Trump's unwavering courage, and you can get it for free. With your free order, you'll receive free bonus gifts, including the Kids Guide to President Trump and a Christmas ornament commemorating Trump's call for us to fight. Get it all for free at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Families across the nation have arrived at a heartbreaking crossroad to surrender their beloved animals at alarming rates due to inflation and soaring costs of living.
There are so many overcrowded shelters. So many dogs need a home, but it's all of us working together to solve this crisis.
This fight requires both doers and dollars. Join us at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. Please sign up today.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live from Auburn, Alabama. Of course, the split screen of the White House. I'm Robert McNeely with Matthew Alvarez.
That's right. We are live here in Alabama, a great state, and of course, a number of great states out there as we continue to see great things happen for our country. So it's 12:30 at the bottom of the hour right now. Let's go live to Atlanta, Georgia, where the great Bruce Levell joins us live right now. Bruce, how you doing today? Definitely. Can you talk to us about your thoughts about how Zelensky went and cried and went over to London and said, Keir Starmer, please give me money? Like, what's your reaction to all what just happened?
Well, listen, it's a lot of moving parts. I don't really think he truly understood that President Trump was very serious about recovering some of the precious taxpayers' money. And listen, I know him for many, many years. Anyone that's done business with President Trump, especially in the private sector, even when he was president, as the 45th president, the term skin in the game. Remember that, skin in the game. I hear what you're saying, but what do you have to offer in return? and he's defending it like any other transaction, which is the best interest of the United States at this point. So I would think that Zelensky and his leadership in Ukraine would probably take very close attention to that. He can run and cry over to another nation, whatever, but at the end of the day, you need the United States. We need to make the deal. And that's really what it's going to boil down to.
You know, Bruce, it's such a good point. Skin in the game. I like that because it's been brought up in recent days about the debacle of Iraq, or if you look at other atrocities happening around the world. I just think about South Sudan, for example, where the Christian community, literally a genocide from ISIS and other radical Muslim groups attacking Christians. How about the Armenian genocide taking place? And you just don't hear this throughout American or even other Western media outlets. Why do you think there's so much of this propaganda on other networks, screaming Russia, 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 even some claiming that President Trump is still a puppet of Russia, although that's clearly been debunked?
Coming from a civil rights background, my dad's side, especially here in the South, Dr. King always made this famous quote, men hate each other because they don't get to know each other. And, historically, unfortunately, our American government has pretty much, in certain leadership, has told us who to like and dislike, and for some reasons, like, well, for what? And so, here we go again, to your point, the Russia situation that we went on, that we had to deal with this back in the 2016 campaign. Here we go again. Listen, President Trump said from day one, quote, "We have to stop the killing." I remember when they tried to force him to take sides on the American debate stage with Biden. And he constantly kept saying, "I want to," quote, "stop the killing and stop the bullets." And he keeps saying it over and over. The only way to do that is bring both parties at the table. Whether you like this person or dislike this person, at the end of the day, we got to come up with a solution and a deal. And yes, you have to bring skin in the game. And that's just what it's going to be. And this is the first time, next to Ronald Reagan, I'm dating myself, where I really feel that this American president, Donald John Trump, has, quote, the best interest of these United States of America first and foremost, which by the Constitution, historically, most presidents should have been following that. So I trust him. I know him. I believe in him and his decisions on this, and I stand with him on this.
And Bruce, can you talk to us about today, within the hour, President Trump to make an announcement, and then tomorrow, that huge speech to the joint session of Congress where he's saying he's going to tell it like it is. I mean, just your thoughts about possibly what we're going to hear from the 47th Commander-in-Chief today and tomorrow.
Well, I was just speaking with a colleague earlier this morning. I was fortunate to be invited to the night before the State of the Union and have discussions with the speech writers. It's a very high privilege and honor to hear and to throw in, maybe some of your ideas, and maybe it makes the cut, maybe it doesn't, but just to be there is historical in itself. But stay tuned for, once again, 100% transparency, probably unlike you've never really seen. He's going to be himself. It's critical for him to be authentic and very transparent to the American people, because that's what he campaigned on. And really, Matt, that's who he really is, and that's what I keep trying to explain to people. Stop trying to make someone that's not, because you've been institutionally brainwashed to say, well, the president's supposed to speak this way or stand this way and talk this way. That's generational curse of institutionalization on the brainwashing of the American people on how the leader is supposed to stand and talk. So this is refreshing. Stay tuned. It's going to be directly at the American people, which is the only way he knows how to speak. And maybe he might get off the topics, or what should I say, the teleprompters, you might say, which I don't mind, because I love people who speak from the heart. So that could happen also. So I think it's going to be, but more so, real quick, I want to make this point. More so, he wants to unite the country and unite the world. Someone's got to be in charge, and he's making it very clear, I'll do that.
And do you think that will be the overarching theme of tomorrow night's speech, peace through strength, and also bringing together factions that wouldn't necessarily meet in the same room?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring up this interesting point, because you notice there's been a lot of certain senators and Congress people, and on the other sides of the aisle, as well as on the Republican side, who've been speaking directly with Zelensky and some other folks, pretty much trying to, sometimes openly circumventing President Trump's wishes and his plan, which is counterproductive to the American people. And let me go a little further. The reason why we're in this, as I call it, the quagmire of the country, is because historically both sides of the aisle, and I'm not saying all, but a vast majority, I want to say majority, or a lot of them, let me use that term respectfully, have been engaged with special interest and pay to play. So there's some interest with our military industrial complex, unfortunately. There's some interest on some kind of other deals that some of these folks got going on with this whole conflict. So the whole idea is, once again, I said this on a show with Matt, is to, and the viewers watching this, is to encourage you to run for your local offices, your congressional seats, your Senate seats, your district attorneys, the America First people that we want to encourage to run, so we can fill up our seats, fill up our House, and go in there and not take pay to play, or I'm going to take this seat. If you give me this, I'll give you that. That's the plague that we're trying to push away. That's what President Trump ran on, and that's what he's trying to inspire to push towards the American people, to get back to the people's business and not the pay to play.
And to your point, Bruce, all of the terrible things going on within the departments that have been happening, all the corruption that we've seen with Doge uncovering things, and just on and on and on. So we're seeing the leadership get cleaned out. Kash Patel at the top of the FBI. It's great to see that. So you're seeing all these departments do that. But it seems that the world has that as well. Some of these leaders, that corruption, I wish they can be cleaned out too, in the sense of, voted out. But it's obviously a different situation. And I know President Trump is the president of this nation, but man, it would be great if he was the president of the entire world. And I'm just saying, figuratively speaking, because of the amount of corruption that's happening out there.
Well, there's an old saying, you can't talk about your neighbor's grass if your grass is not cut. And, the foundational principles of the country, of America, where we're able to help others in our own nation as well as even overseas, is that our foundation has to be strong. And someone, once again, has to be the leader. I always said that. I tell people, it's like, well, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? I said, well, somebody has to step up. And respectfully, a lot of these, our foreign adversaries, not even some of the folks that may not like America, deep down inside are anxious and glad and elated that President Trump is in the Oval Office. My wish, and of course many of your viewers, are that we attract a similar style ethical president that will go into the next term and the next term, who want to do the will of the people, by the people, and be ethical and honest and upfront and tell us the truth, no matter how hard it hurts us and how painful it is. That's essentially what my prayers are. I know many of your viewers stand in agreement on this, for the future of 2028 and so on for our children's children. And that's essentially what President Trump is wishful and praying for also. And I speak for him on that.
It just seems that it's never been so clear, Bruce, the free world of all people of the free world versus tyranny. We're seeing it very clearly now, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, listen, it's one of those things, and all your believers that are watching this, the first signs of when a nation starts crumbling is when God removes his covering. And so as a people, as a country, as a continent, and as the world, we got to get back to God, man. We got to get back to, the basic things of prayer and things that who we are as a people and why we're on this earth. And if we start going astray on that, come on, we look at other great nations historically for many years who turned away, and look what happened. Look how they perished. So, I like the fact that we are strong in this great movement, that we put family, obviously we put God first. And remember this, ladies and gentlemen, remember in this, this first inauguration in 2017 of January, we don't worship government, we worship God. And a lot of people forgot about that, but that's genuinely who President Trump truly is. And there's a lot of, respectfully, there's some other great leaders that are governors and senators that believe the same thing, and leaders in our businesses and our households, et cetera. So this is the only antidote for survival, is putting God back over the nation and not government trying to be over God.
And I was just going to say thanks for joining us, but I want to read this quote from President Trump on January 20th. He said, "In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God." Isn't it awesome, Bruce and Robert, since we're all kind of having a conversation here at this point, just the fact that he understands that. And it's not just words, it's actions, guys.
Oh, it really is. I mean, that hits it right on the head. I mean, he's been compared to people like David and Cyrus. And Bruce, love your reaction to, is this a biblical moment? Have we seen revival happen within our government? Because it seems as if now, I mean, even if you look towards the NFL and culturally speaking, more and more people thanking God, thanking their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And even good to see it in the college football ranks. I mean, that was a huge theme, this past fall.
Yeah. I tell you, I'm a little biased. I know Tim Tebow out of Florida. Our ministry and some of our friends linked with him back in the day in the mission camp. And I'm a little biased. I don't care if the team is 0-15, but when the leadership of the team starts professing who Christ is, I tend to want to vote for them or cheer for them all the time. So that's the quickest way to get my vote or to get me to cheer for you. And so it's like you said, it is refreshing, and I'm very optimistic. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom, and I'm going to say this, directly to the viewers. I know the president well. Is that there's strength, like you said, through peace, but there's only strength through God first. And, in that order, the way President Trump is looked at is God, family, which is spouse, being a married person, the way I look at it, family, and then everything else is pretty much last. But without that order, then there's no stability, there's no covenant, there's no continuity amongst having great neighbors and a great city and a great nation without that order. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I know for a fact that President Trump follows that order exactly the way I just described it to you, which is very refreshing.
Yeah, faith, family, freedom, friends, the country. It's all this stuff that's very, very simple. It's that common sense, Bruce, that resonates with any human. And it's not only the people of our country. That's why the people of Brazil or Hungary or Poland or really anywhere. I mean, let's even talk about the Chinese. It doesn't matter where. It's that free world aspect of this, saying we want freedom in our land. So Bruce Levell, again, thank you for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network as it's 12:44 Eastern Time. Thank you again, Bruce.
Yeah, God bless. Thanks for having me.
Definitely, Bruce.
Go War Eagles. Can't believe I said that.
Yeah, War Eagle for Alabama. Right. I mean, the basketball team doing quite awesome here.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they do in March Madness. So Auburn Tigers, if anybody's watching in Auburn, War Eagle.
Dive on in, absolutely. Thank you again, sir. Well, we always appreciate Bruce's contribution and comments because it's so true to really put it into perspective with, J.D. Vance talked about Norvus Ordum and that the way you're to look at the world and to take care of your own purview, but also those around you. And it's a lot of it just boils down to common sense.
Don't we love common sense? We do here at the network, definitely. Also, let's go to Colonial Metals Group. This is common sense as well. I mean, when you have a little bit of retirement or savings, putting it into a gold, silver backdrop is great.
Yes, it's so essential now. It's not only something that you might look at this as a luxury, but look at Warren Buffett. He's taken money out of the stock market, put it into gold and silver himself. And this is someone who has done very well with finances over the years. So it might be interesting to look at his success, regardless of political background. But if you scan the QR code now, you get that free 2025 gold guide. This gives you so much outlet on what you can do for yourself, what you could do for your family, whether it's retirement, sending that kid to school, perhaps to Auburn University. It's going to cost money. So it's nice to make sure that your financial backing is ordered and controlled so you can make those core decisions.
Definitely. And a shout out to all of the different colleges out there. Hopefully, really not to the woke ones, really, but to the ones that have fun football teams, basketball, hockey, whatever sport that you like out there. So it's great to see a lot of fun SEC stuff here in the Southeast. But for those of you watching all around the country, thank you for streaming in live as we get ready to go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Roosevelt Room, where President Trump will have an announcement at about 1:30 Eastern Time. So we'll bring you to the White House when we see that live picture there. So we see it live from outside, but I know we want to see what's inside, so we will see that in just less than an hour. And then at 1 o'clock Eastern, Seth Kesel will join us, of course, recognized by President Trump at a rally some years ago about all of his security election efforts, that kind of thing. And also a former member of the military as well, which is great. So he'll be on in just a little bit. So again, 1246, as we look at President Trump's Truth Social page, I mean, him saying the following quote, "Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is." And President Trump actually said that just a few days back to one of the journalists out there, Cheryl Atkinson. So saying she tells it like it is, and keep pushing, he said. Well, I think that's the name of the game here, is in common sense, is let's tell it how it is. The left-wing media, they lie, we know it. Simple as that. So it's great to see that new media there involved at the White House, and it's really the conservative media. It's people that are saying, we want common sense, and we're going to report like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's what our goal is here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, to be on the right side of history and provide all that unbridled access for you, the American people, and ultimately to make your own decisions. And we appreciate if you like, share, and stream on your favorite content app, and get the word out there, because this is America First News, and we will show you everything in its entirety. Other networks, they might cut off and then go talk about something else, or just not show you these key speeches that are literally shaping the Western world. And like you saw Friday with Zelensky at the White House, just prior to that, Vice President J.D. Vance giving that incredible speech. And I told Matthew here that rarely do you have an opportunity to speak on core principles than to enact them later that day. And that's just a historical moment for someone like J.D. Vance, who's seen as the future of this MAGA movement.
Exactly. So we are a pro-America news organization right here, a pro-America news organization, Right Side Broadcasting Network. And the thing about censorship is the only reason why people censor at all, let's talk about basics here, is because they don't want the truth to get out.
Right.
Be quiet. Don't speak the truth. Hence why some networks in the past, when President Trump is talking about a certain thing, they cut back from that. The producer tells the anchor, okay, let's go to another story. Wait, why are you censoring the president right now, or censoring someone running for office? Are you afraid of the truth? And so to have media now be on the side of truth, is anybody perfect? No, but what we are is saying we want to strive for perfection and report truth every day we can. So we are so glad that you guys are streaming in with us. Please, again, as Robert said, share this with your friends, your family, as we continue to grow and cover America First News at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And Robert, if you remember, election night, Inauguration Day, combined more than 11 million views across all platforms.
Really amazing. We're very humbled by it, and thank you for your support. It's something that we hope continues to grow, because we just want to be that change agent within the media to show you what's truly going on out there, and again, for you to make your own minds up. And that's why we think had all those viewers, because we were able to beat some of those big names out there with our calls, and it was an honor to do so on election night, to really look at the math and say, it's over. President Trump has won, and he got all 7 swing states. I mean, not a surprise the way he goes after things.
Exactly. And you say some of the big names, I think the big names so-called are not big anymore. Mm-hmm. The people are just leaving that. The mainstream media. They're just saying, see you later. You don't resonate with me. You've been lying to me for 20, 30 years straight. You've been on the side of a Democratic Party and speaking that. This is the point. You know how there's corruption in these different departments, and President Trump and the team are ridding it? Well, that's exactly what the mainstream media is. It's a corrupt media. Mm-hmm. So we, on the conservative media side, and I'll be straight up, not just Right Side, but we are the leaders of live events, and we've been covering President Trump since 2015. We're the ones that are that replacement of that corruption from the left. So we really highly value your love and attention, and all the loyal viewers over the years, Robert. Tomorrow as well, I believe, will be another big day. I mean, today's a big day. Tomorrow will be a big day for the huge speech tomorrow night. Right.
Every day is the Super Bowl here in American politics, and especially at a pace that Donald Trump only knows how to execute on. He's done an extraordinary job, and I'm sure it will be a straight to the point speech on a number of different things, and really a chance for him to outline his policy and where he believes will lead to peace and prosperity for not only the country, but for the world. Because again, there's so much misinformation out there that if you simply want to stop the killing, have peace between the two nations, although you don't agree with the leadership of both nations, somehow that's become Russian propaganda, according to the left. But I think we've seen with the way, sadly, as Bruce Levell put it, the military-industrial complex and other interests that have been on both sides of the aisle have really clouded that view. Actually, I saw today some numbers going back to the Iraq War. 300,000 plus civilians died as a result of that conflict, all brought upon by dishonesty from the intelligence community. There were no weapons of mass destruction. We could not find the yellow cake. And even though Saddam Hussein was as awful as could be, a terrible dictator, he was installed by certain individuals in the American government through the military-industrial complex, and if they went in there to quote-unquote fix their problem. And this sadly included people like Dick Cheney, and I think they've been very much exposed in the last few years for where the Cheneys truly stand. I mean, Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson wanted to take away President Trump's Secret Service agents when he was out of office. How insane is that for their fake committee on January 6th? They purposefully removed the wording of peacefully and patriotically leave the area. It's an amazing narrative that the deep state continues to use.
Right Side Broadcasting Network is on Team Freedom, Team Constitution, Team USA, we the people, and we always will be, no matter what. When President Trump is done in office in 29 and there's another president, we'll continue on with that same commitment here. But we're so glad to be covering a president that has strength and common sense and also is not boring. He's not a boring guy, which is always fun to cover too. So yeah, I mean that's it. I mean we don't want to talk fake news here. We're not labeled fake news because we're talking common sense. And Bruce brought up a point earlier. He said he likes when people speak from the heart, and that when President Trump goes away from the teleprompter. Well, currently, right now, we don't even own a teleprompter at this network. We're not reading anything when we're talking to you. We're just looking at the camera. Hi, you know what I mean? Right. So if we get a prompter someday, maybe it's to read a sponsor script or something. But the point is, you see what you get here. How much more can we have our heart on our sleeve right now on this Monday, March 3rd? We also want to tell you about some great sponsors as well. This one's called Crowd Health.
Yes, and speaking of that, you can experience freedom from health insurance. Are you sick of really, it's the keep you sick industry. It's not necessarily health care as people put it. So scan that QR code now, choose Crowd Health, and join crowdhealth.com. Use the promo code RSBN for all of the special deals there. It's joincrowdhealth.com. Talk about the mind-numbingly frustrating process of our American healthcare system. I've experienced it personally, and right now we pay the most out of any industrialized nation, but don't necessarily receive the correct care. Claim denials are becoming more and more common. In fact, 1 in 5 Obamacare claims were denied last year. So that's unacceptable. And that was really done because it was trying to fight this bloated bureaucracy, and it actually really enhanced the bureaucracy as a result. So the headache of health insurance is exactly what Crowd Health was created to combat. It's a better way to pay for health care through crowdfunding. So stop sending money to big insurance companies who profit and don't pay you back for what you're paying into that system for. So join crowdhealth.com, code RSBN.
I like this sponsor, like all of the sponsors. We're just really happy to partner with them, but also this one, Crowd Health, to make it easier. Again, right. we want to cut all the clutter, and so does this organization, this company. They want all that confusion to go away, and they want it to be common sense to have health insurance. This is how you can do it. So all you have to do is go to that website you see on your screen, join crowdhealth.com. So join crowdhealth.com. Use the promo code RSBN, and let's get the ball rolling on that one. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we're approaching the top of the hour, about 5 minutes from 1 o'clock. And it's 1:30 that President Trump will be speaking for this announcement. Maybe he'll be a few minutes earlier, maybe a little bit later, but we do have someone joining us here in just a few minutes. Seth Kesel will join the show as we continue our coverage of this speech that will happen in just about half an hour. And then, of course, tomorrow night, the big speech that, even though it's not technically a State of the Union address, I was thinking indirectly it kind of is, because President Trump has done so much in just those 30, 40 days that it seems like you're ready for that kind of address.
Well, and you have all the glitz and glam. The House Sergeant of Arms will, of course, be there. And I always love that moment where you kind of hear the commodity and the laughter, the jovial nature of our members of Congress beforehand and those invited guests in the rafters enjoying some dialogue. And then you hear the gavel, boom, 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 and it's the Speaker. And then Sergeant of Arms comes in and says, Mr. Speaker, President of the United States. And it's always a fanfare and a nice, bipartisan moment. Albeit, Washington, D.C. can then turn into what looks like a boxing match at times. But I remember the late Sheila Jackson Lee, although a Democrat from Texas, someone I had a lot of respect for, would always stand on the aisle and get there hours prior to shake hands with the current president and get a signature, and then also to schedule a meeting. So I always thought that was creative, to make sure that you would have some time with the president at some point.
Robert, you don't like politics, do you?
Oh, I hate it.
You don't like history either, do you?
Oh, it's a terrible thing.
Oh, it's great to work with you, man.
It is, likewise.
Great to have you guys join us live here as we continue our coverage of the president and also other stories that happen outside of the Beltway. We're going to have RSBN host Ashley Brassfield and Christina Loren on our show tomorrow, actually, as we have our pre-show coverage of the speech. And we'll be interviewing a number of other people as well coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Again, really glad you guys are with us today, as it's about the 1 o'clock hour here on Right Side. Let's look at some of President Trump's Truth Social posts, and we'll do that in just a second. I do want to go over some of the other news of the day. We're keeping our eye on the South Carolina situation with the wildfires there. 4,200 acres across the state, including a number of counties. That's primarily due to that dry and windy conditions. But also I was reading some quotes or some statements from people, on X and other places. They said, I've lived in South Carolina my whole life. I've never seen something like this happen before. And of course you start thinking, okay, what's the cause of all these fires? Is it really just the weather and there was just some fire that started somehow? And then how are there 175 fires? So, I mean, that's kind of a rhetorical question. I mean, we can go there if you want, but I mean,
no, it's interesting to think about.
How are these all happening? You know what I mean?
And Ashley might be able to help with some of that come tomorrow, because she's been in South Carolina in the Palmetto State, so familiar with the area. But you think too, because it's more humid in the southeast, you don't have the western wildfires, just more common because of how dry it is out there. So a strange situation that we'll keep our eye on for sure.
Definitely. So a lot of different stories that we're looking at here at the network. And of course, if there's any breaking news, whether it's in DC or outside the Beltway, we'll bring that to you here live. All right, so we know at 1:30, President Trump will make that announcement from the Roosevelt Room. We'll have that live for you. And then the First Lady, Melania Trump, will hold a roundtable. That starts at about 2 o'clock Eastern. And then at 3 o'clock, Linda McMahon for the Secretary of Education post. That will be a confirmation hearing that we'll be seeing there in just a bit. So, and sometimes what we'll do is if there's various things going on, we'll have various live streams. So if you're interested in watching, Linda McMahon, or if you're interested in watching the First Lady, we'll have that for you. But today it might turn out to be on one stream. We'll see how things happen back to back to back here on the network. All right, so it's 1 o'clock. Let's go live now to, I believe Seth is in Arizona right now. Seth Kesel joins us live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Seth, hello to you.
You guys.
Good to see you too, sir. What are your thoughts about the president's first month in office, and then also what happened with Zelensky at the Oval Office the other day, and moving forward to the speeches coming up?
President Trump is a bull in a china shop, and that is a good. I think that he's somebody that fits the mold of a change agent, and people definitely want to change. And this is why you see a resuscitation of the old 2017 playbook by the people that are in bed with the global regimes, and they want to make it out like there's giant chaos. Well, there's a lot of people that voted for chaos, and there is no real easy way to remake the federal government or to throw off these bureaucratic forms of corruption without what he's been like. And there will be collateral damage. I mean, I've heard from plenty of people that run with the whole media narrative of I didn't vote to lose my government job. Well, I think we can't perpetuate the growth and the bloat in the federal government anymore because it feeds all of the downrange corruption. So I'm in favor of what's going on. 4 years to make a maximum impact, and then hopefully it looks like to me it's going to be J.D. Vance at this rate in 2028 to succeed Trump. As for Zelensky, you don't come into the White House and insult the people's president and the vice president, especially when you're asking for billions and billions of dollars in American taxpayer support and presumably for America's sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine.
Exactly. And also it says RSBN guest, oh, there you go, Seth Kesel. So, yeah, I mean, perfectly said.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And great point, Seth, because the 2028 CPAC straw poll, the first one in this year of 2025, had J.D. Vance overwhelmingly with the support of the grassroots. So someone to definitely watch as this MAGA agenda moves forward. You know, President Trump has spoken on election integrity and is really pushing states and counties to go to paper balloting now and to really end the machines. You're an elections expert. Please share with us what you think about everything moving there in regards to reform, because I always find that this last election really quite interesting where voter ID states, all of those, the 31 states that President Trump won, have some form of voter ID. The 19 that the former vice president won don't have any form of it, including the District of Columbia. So what are your thoughts on that?
You're on the right path when it comes to what you said about the voter ID. Now, I don't believe that lack of voter ID is the singular reason why certain states don't vote Republican. I think it just goes hand in hand with the type of corruption that would front you the other laws that make states blue. Now, there are some blue states, Massachusetts, Maryland, I have no doubt. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Trump should have won California or he should have won Oregon. But I will tell you that those margins are they should be much tighter than they are certified. And the reason that the blue wall exists is because you have corrupted voter registration. That is the foundation of electoral corruption. So there are issues with machines, but the only way you're going to make any advancement with the narrative that machines and software are bad for elections is because they obscure transparency. Because you don't have to convince me or you or Matt that elections are corrupt. You have to convince about 10% of the population that's still on the fence about election corruption. And there is an inherent danger right now, given that President Trump is in the White House, that a lot of people that were all up in arms about election integrity have kind of gone back, maybe thought 2020 was a bad dream. I'll tell you, it was more selective in 2024, and it was used to pluck, in my estimation, 3 or 4 U.S. Senate seats out from under President Trump. Combine that with Adam Laxalt in Nevada in 2022, and then everything down ballot in 2020, you could make the case that Trump should have 62 senators in that hearing for Linda McMahon later on today, or for any Supreme Court picks that come up. God knows how many U.S. House seats. So until you can fix the corruption of voter registration, when it goes into automatic registration, it gets worse. In states that did not have automatic registration, Trump carried the electoral votes 248-5. The only state without automatic registration Harris carried was New Hampshire. And then, of course, the one vote from Nebraska. So once you fix that, you have to address the corruption of mail-in balloting. Universal mail-in balloting states are overwhelmingly Democrat-won. And then when you go from that, you go into ballot harvesting. And once that happens, a state is off the rails. And, of course, they're not going to have voter ID either. So I support Trump's efforts to go to paper ballots on one-day elections and to eliminate machines and software. But it's a deeper problem than that. And hopefully we'll see the formation of an election reform committee under President Trump.
And tomorrow, Seth, when he addresses that joint session of Congress, what are some of your thoughts about what he'll be talking about there? And then on top of that, some of the different things you've written in your various Substacks. Can you talk to us about some of the stories you've been working on?
I think President Trump is going to be mostly accomplishments focused now that he's got 6 weeks in the top spot. Remember, people made a big deal about him hitting Biden pretty hard in the inauguration when most people expected this to be, something of a dignified performance. I thought it was just fine. It was well earned. And honestly, he was pretty lenient based on everything that he could have rolled out. But I think Trump will be focused mostly on his accomplishments. He will probably take more shots at the global elite, which is it's one and the same. The same people that run the Democrats and the uniparty right in America are the same ones that are destroying Europe and trying to prolong a potential world war. And I think that he's going to make the case for people to rebut his accomplishments. And even, he says he's fond of saying that any press is good press. So people can come forward and say, Trump says this and this is bad, federal government workers are gone. But Look, outside of Northern Virginia and Southern Maryland, a lot of people realize that it is a necessary evil that even good people are going to be cut out of government positions. Unemployment is not the end of the world. I've been out of work 4 times since I left the Army, and every time I bounced back and found something else I was supposed to be doing. So he will basically put them in a position to refute all of his positive accomplishments in the press when most Americans are benefiting from his reforms and will continue to do so as things trickle down in the economy. That's where I think he's going to go. I think there will be a lot of focus on bringing peace in the world. There are multiple conflict areas, of course, in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. And really, if you look at my Substack today, South Africa's government is beginning to crack down on dissidents. And I'm talking about the Afrikaners, those who control most of the farming in South Africa that are starting to fall under persecution. Trump has offered those folks refugee status in America. There's about 3 million of them. They are split, but I suspect they won't be split for long if the government keeps on heating up over there. So really, it's not what the media tells you. It's what's in between the lines that they omit that people have to pay attention to.
And Seth, where can people find your Substack and where can people find you online?
I've done most of my work this year since Trump got elected on Substack, lots of analytics, lots of long form. skeshel.substack.com, SKESHEL. That is Captain K's Corner. It is a bestseller in its genre on Substack, and it's continuing to gain influence, and it lands in the inboxes of a lot of influential folks. So if you want to subscribe to me there, that's the best case. I am also on Twitter or X, Truth Social, Telegram, @RealSKesel.
Awesome. Seth Kesel, again, thank you for joining us on RSBN Live. Hope to have you back on the show, hopefully next week.
You bet, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. All right, so Seth, I mean, obviously a brilliant mind. Isn't it great to see conservative rock stars, whether they have 7 million followers, 100,000, it doesn't matter. The point is the truth is getting out, and then that continues to happen throughout the country.
No, it's very exciting because look at 4 years ago when President Trump was banned from then Twitter and Facebook and the onslaught that took place following January 6th, and now the ability to share all this information that includes places like Truth Social that came on the scene in 2022, as well as many others, just getting out there in the written word or online or even different publications, and us included, Right Side Broadcasting, just bringing the truth out there for you, because not everyone will have Seth on because he wants to dissect how to fix the problems. And I love that he addressed the issue with the automatic registrations and motor voters. So much of this goes back to the Clinton administration, some of the stuff we're dealing with right now. And that's why it's so important to get involved in politics and to vote and to care about your community and your country, because it can have ripple effects down the road.
And speaking of ripple effects down the road, conservative media and people like Seth Kesel and others, the numbers are growing left and right. Mainly right. But, you know, it's great to see that. The numbers are growing because the people that have woken up because of what's been going on over the past several years say, okay, well, I have to find a place that I can trust or find a person that I can trust. And that's what we're seeing happen. So it's great to see that. All right, so it's 1:09 Eastern time. Let's thank and tell you about angelpace.com, of course, out of Spring, Texas, hiring military veterans as well at this great company. And you'll be able to see it on your screen there, angelpace.com. They have a lot of other products on there as well, Robert.
Oh, they do. They have an acid spray for the guys, so a nice thing to take care of your face before you go to sleep. How about the mosquito-resistant options that naturally repel them? I mean, being in Spring, Texas, just outside of Houston, they're right along that Gulf of America, and it's hot and humid, so tropical down there that you get those buggers that will irritate you, and this can repel them literally. What's also nice is the vitamin B components, and it's all non-GMO, no chemicals. So, you know, some other options out there, you just don't know what you're putting on your skin and what's going into your skin. You read those ingredients and it's, oh my goodness, what's trichloroethylene? Not that I'm saying that's in there, but you know, it's those big long words that you just don't know. So why not go with things that you can understand and know that are good for you ultimately for your skin to absorb. So you'll be glowing, and it's good for guys and gals. So don't worry, guys. It's I've tried it myself. I love it, and you can still grip that tackle box. So angelpace.com. Check out all of their wonderful products.
It takes a real man to say you like Angel Pace, but that's a good thing. I like it too. And also, I think my wife should get this. Angelpace.com. 10%, I believe. It might be even 20% at this point. So it's RSBN, the promo code, angelpace.com. All right, so it's 1:10 p.m. We're about 5 minutes away from going to Representative Rachel Kesel, Seth's wife, who is a representative in Arizona state politics. she's doing great things as well for the country. So a power couple of sorts. We're going to meet here. We're going to see her in just about 4 minutes from now. So pretty awesome to see that kind of thing. I mean, we could talk outside of the box on that one. Just it's great to bring conservatives together, especially in marriage. How about that?
Well, again, with the make marriage great again, right?
Yeah,
the idea that it is these MAGA people that were never going to run for office now taking office at the state and local level or even in Congress. I mean, you think about Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. They were not people who were involved in politics for years and years. Rather, they identified that problem in their community and said, I can speak to this. I can take care of this. And that's, I mean, really how our founding began. So, why not continue in that tradition? And that really is what the MAGA movement is about.
Exactly. So the outsiders, I mean, when we look at George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, even up to Abe Lincoln and others, you see that President Trump is in line with the same names of the founding of this country in the sense of being an outsider, someone that's going to come in and change the system for the good. And that's why all of us, the majority of the nation said, I'm voting for that guy on November 5th. And man, again, just to bring it back to November 5th, when Robert, he read that Georgia went to President Trump. I read that Pennsylvania went to President Trump, and it was just a powerful time. And then we called the election for Donald J. Trump. I mean, what a powerful time that was. As we take a little trip down memory lane with you guys, how awesome was that on November 5th? But now here we are, March 3rd, so happy March to you.
Happy March. It's one of my favorite months out there.
Same here.
So it's the Maha Green, but it's also St. Patrick's Day in 2 weeks from now.
That's true.
So.
You know what is funny? I should have went with it. I was going to wear my St. Patrick's Day socks today. And then I'm thinking, well, then I would want to wear the green tie. And then if I did, it would have been kind of perfect.
Right. So
I should go with it next time.
Now, 2 Mondays from now, God knows what we'll be wearing. Maybe a green blazer. We'll see what happens.
Well, if you go do good in golf, maybe.
Yeah, that's gold jacket, green jacket. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day because we know that this country is getting stronger, and we know that there's a great golfer in chief as well at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Donald John Trump. We're awaiting his announcement from the Roosevelt Room, and that should be coming up momentarily here for you as we have some live interviews if you're just tuning in now, but also prepping for tomorrow night's address to the Congress. This will be a very interesting way for him to really speak on the heels of what took place with the meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. And again, to President Trump's point, he was very happy that that happened in the Oval Office, that American media and the American people can actually see Zelensky for what it's worth, a globalist individual who is not grateful for the way the United States has intervened in this situation. And it's true, without the javelins coming from President Trump, and although President Biden was wrong in doing so, prolonging this war, we sent billions of taxpayer dollars over there so that they could defend themselves from Russia. And you have this guy coming in saying he's going to talk down to J.D. Vance. Excuse me? This is unbelievable.
I mean, at the end of the day, President Trump simply wants peace and the killing to stop. That's the core of what he's doing. We know that. I'm preaching to the choir. He's said it a bunch of times. But Zelensky put his tail between his legs, flew across the pond, and went to London before going to Ukraine, and went to Keir Starmer asking for money, and Keir Starmer saying, "Oh, don't worry, Zelensky, we're here for you." It's just like, guys, come on. It's war. Stop the stop the war. Why is there a problem with that? And that's what we're seeing with Zelensky. To that point, President Trump, an hour ago on Truth Social, before we go to our next live interview, he was talking about this article where Zelensky said, quote, "The end of the war with Russia is very, very far away." President Trump said in response, "This is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing in Europe." In the meeting they had with Zelensky, stated flatly that they cannot do the job without the United States. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? That, according to the president's latest Truth Social post about an hour ago. So, right. Again, we're going to hear this announcement, and then we're going to hear this speech tomorrow. And if there was no conservative media, President Trump would have to just correct the narrative by himself. Right. And sometimes he does do that, but there's conservative media to show, not just because we say, hey, we support a president like Trump. It's because we support the Constitution, and we support common sense, and we support peace through strength, and support no new wars, and all of that. outside of President Trump. But it happens to be that he is all of those things.
Right, and it's really been highlighted in the last few days when the vice president spoke to the Catholic prayer breakfast on Friday, saying that American foreign policy, and Bruce Levell brought it up earlier if you've been with us, that these people are prolonging wars and fights for their own pocketbooks rather than what's actually serious. And he brought up the Armenian assault and the genocide happening. What about South Sudan as well? And you don't hear this in American media, but you'll hear Ukraine, 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 Russia, Russia, Russia. All President Trump wants is peace, ultimately, as you said, Matthew.
Let's go from Alabama all the way out to the West Coast, Arizona right now. Representative Rachel Kesel joining us live from the Arizona area, in the sense of she's also a state rep out there. And I remember on Truth Social a while ago when you stood up for We the People. Can you just remind people what that was like when you stood up for We the People in the middle of that chamber there in the Arizona State House?
Well, hi, how are you? Thank you for having me on. You know, I made a promise to the people that voted for me from the very get-go that I was here to be a representative for them. I think so many elected officials have forgotten that's why we're here. And yeah, a lot of times, a lot of my colleagues are here for the special interests and the lobbyists, unfortunately. So I had actually been threatened by a specific lobbyist to vote yes on a bill. And as soon as I got on the floor to vote no on the bill, I stood up and said, you know, this is a government for the people, by the people, not for the lobbyists, of the lobbyists. And so I took a pummeling in my primary saying that. And I weathered it and got through and have my heels dug in even more after that to continue to represent the people.
You know, State 48 really has a way of appreciating individual liberty. It was born out of people who bravely went to that terrain, into the desert, but also you go throughout that beautiful state of yours, so many beautiful mountains and different elevations. I think people who haven't been there think it's all desert, but it's really a beautiful place to explore. What's it like for you as a state representative to have a president in the White House who seemingly really cares deeply not only for the Bill of Rights but for that 10th Amendment to allow states to really make their respective decisions, especially, you know, in regards to things like education?
Well, it is so important. I think, honestly, now that we have President Trump back in office, it's a little... You don't have to have it at the forefront of your mind, but over the last 4 years, I ran quite a few pieces of legislation regarding state sovereignty myself, because we had a federal government that was not protecting our border. You know, Arizona, yes, it's a beautiful state. We've got mountains and pine trees and desert, and we had a wide open border. And living down in Tucson, we had fentanyl everywhere. You know, unfortunately, I've met parents that have lost their children to fentanyl, which is terrible. And our 4 years of just wide open, you know, people being trafficked, and listening to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle say, oh, it's humane to open the border and let these people in, when it's anything but that. You know, when women and children, the things that happen to them as they cross the desert with the traffickers, it's horrendous. And so we really had to fight for our local police, our local sheriffs, because that was really our front line here in Arizona, because the federal agents, their hands were tied. You know, Biden wasn't letting them do their job. So we kind of can take a breath, a collective breath here in Arizona now that we have President Trump back, and we know he's going to secure that border again. It was the best that it had ever been under his last administration. But it still is so critical. You know, one of the things you didn't mention, education is very important, but also elections. You know, states need to make sure that their election processes are secure, that people can trust them. And that's been one of the issues that we've seen specifically here in Arizona. I think 2/3 of people don't trust our elections. That's not just Republicans, that's across the board. So just ensuring that we're protecting our Arizona citizens here, listening to their voices, and honestly, the border and elections were two of the most important things that we heard.
And let's talk a little bit more about the border as well. And I agree 100%. So does Robert about election security, safety, and all of that. As President Trump, as one of his core promises, is to secure elections. But we know, of course, the too big to rig situation that happened in 2024. But moving forward, to your point with the states, we hear you on that. Now, when it comes to the southern border, President Trump has designated that the Mexican drug cartel, based in obviously Mexico and some are in Canada, as a terrorist organization. Are you hearing from constituents, or what's the feeling like there along the border when it comes to knowing that there are a terrorist organization right across the border? Do people talk about this a lot?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, he's correct. You know, there have been actually basically prices on people's heads, especially Border Patrol agents, where, you know, they were worth $50,000 dead or alive. They were cutting people's heads off, throwing them over the border at one point. Some of these cartel organizations, I mean, it is brutal what they do. And actually, we tried to run a bill, I think it was last session, and it was to designate cartels as terrorists, which is what they are. And during that committee, you know, I talked about the brutality of what goes on. And actually, 2 Democrats changed their no votes to yes votes in that committee, got to the floor and they voted no. But it is funny how the Democrats, I think they've changed their tune on the border, because the constituents did make it loud and clear that they are fully supportive of getting the border closed and fully supportive of legal immigration, not illegal immigration. So all of a sudden, Katie Hobbs and the Democrats say they care about border security. So that goes to show you what the people of Arizona as a whole care about.
And how do you see the future going, especially for 2026? It seems to be vital for State 48 and really the West Coast in general, because arguably all of you have really suffered the most at the hands of the cartels and simply being border states.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. In 2024, the Republicans did pick up a couple of seats in the legislature, and I only see that increasing in 2026. You know, it's funny. I think voters made their voices loud and clear. I knew prior Democrats that voted for Republicans this go round, a lot of them, and a lot of independents were swinging very, very widely for Republicans as well. Now, the funny thing is, you know, they made it clear with voting for Trump and increasing our majority in the legislature, which I had Democrat colleagues that were sure they were going to get the majority all the way to the end. And they were sadly mistaken, thankfully. But they continue with some of this, you know, woke ideology. I was my very first government committee. There was a bill that basically defines sex-based terms, you know, because we've seen the attack on our girls, our daughters, in sports, in locker rooms, in bathrooms. And, you know, it was funny because all of the Democrats on that committee introduced themselves with their pronouns that day. And I sat across the dais and just thought to myself, you didn't get it this time. So if they continue to hold on to those things, it's only going to help us. So I say pronoun away and ignore some of the issues that I think all Arizonans are kind of sick of, and they need to listen to their voters, or we're just going to continue to get a bigger majority and hopefully a super majority again someday, and a Republican governor in 26, and then we can really start getting some things done.
Representative Rachel Kesel joining us from Arizona, the Grand Canyon State. Thank you so much for taking the time. Hope to have you again on the show in the near future.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so I mean, we see that there, obviously a beautiful state, but you know, we see unfortunately people like Katie Hobbs running the show there, right. And that is not what the people wanted in that state. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
And it's a very, you know, traditionally conservative place, and I think because of what's happened on the border and with the fentanyl crisis, it's really woken people up to be involved in their government and moving forward for elections to come, because it's an important place and not only naturally beautiful with its conservation, but needing people that will, take it to new heights. And I think we're really seeing that across the board. And that's what's surprising about some of our friends on the other side who would double down in that situation, going by their pronouns. I mean, it's clearly, you can see if that's a man or a woman. So I really do not understand this whole that and the other. I know some people put NE/VER, so never. Just I am clearly, biologically, there are two genders. So now the federal government recognizes that thanks to President Trump, as does biological science.
Yeah, exactly. I remember going to New York to cover an event there. And I believe it was actually on April 4th of 2023. It was the first day that President Trump faced his lawfare, garbage, false narrative stuff. Well, at this, I think it was called Collect Pond Park, right in Manhattan, right? And I remember running to 4 or 5 Trump supporters. Obviously I'm one too, but I'm just trying to explain the story here in the sense of they all had red MAGA t-shirts on, red hats. And they were all going, 2 genders, there's 2 genders, only 2 genders. I was like, this is awesome that we have people that are so based and on the right side of history here. It's common sense. And the other woke mindset, hopefully it just gets eradicated in the sense of the mindset, not the people. So just that mindset's awful. Anyway, so let's go to mypillow.com. So mypillow.com/RSBN. We can see that we have a great percentage off there, up to 80%, Robert.
Yes, and this is over 2,000 items, mind you. And if you really want to get your day started the right way, it's always that night before. How do you prep for it? Well, Mr. Mike Lindell and MyPillow, of course, famous for those ridiculously comfortable and lovely pillows, but also my slippers. You have My Coffee, which will get you started in the morning. But how about these new deals going on? My Cross, save 30%. We can't do anything, especially in our morning, without remembering the sacrifice of our Savior, our Lord Jesus, and we know how he made a difference in Mike Lindell's life. How about those My Towels, 6-pack for $29.98, or the flannel sheets, $44.98 as well. 800-836-7566, mypillow.com/RSBN. I mean, after President Trump's term, and we don't know the future ultimately for Mr. Mike Lindell, perhaps running for office in Minnesota. But I think they should have a spinoff again of The Apprentice. I mean, there's got to be something these are 2 master marketers. They've excelled in their businesses. It would be a great show.
It would be. It would be. I think a lot of people would watch that, of course. And maybe it'll be on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Who knows?
I love that. But I mean, let's slow it down and enjoy the next few years here and pop that popcorn, because the golden age is commencing.
It is. And it's great to be here and great to be with you guys live on RSBN Live, as it's the bottom of the hour. That means President Trump may be appearing there at the Roosevelt Room. So as soon as we see that live picture at the White House, we'll take you there to hear this announcement that he spoke about on a statement on Truth Social, saying that there would be an announcement. Actually, that was from the White House on a communications email to the press, that there would be a 1 o'clock announcement. So we'll be following what he says here in just a few minutes. And then at 2 o'clock, the First Lady, Melania Trump, will have a roundtable discussion. And then at 3 o'clock, Linda McMahon, the Senate vote on the chamber floor for her confirmation for Secretary of Education. So a lot of news happening today. This on the heels of tomorrow's huge speech to a joint session of Congress. Of course, you can watch all of that right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so looking at some various stories that we're seeing here, President Trump actually on Truth Social saying, quote, paid troublemakers are attending Republican town hall meetings. It is all part of the game for the Democrats, but just like our big landslide election, it's not going to work for them. And then, of course, President Trump also saying tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is. In all caps, he said on Truth Social.
Yeah, it should be a very exciting speech. And of course, comes the glitz and glamour of, attendees and visitors, but also all members of Congress. And for those that are real politicos, not the fake news outlet, but rather those who follow these historical transactions day in and day out, as we do here at the network. Always awesome to watch the political theater that takes place. And we will have, I'm sure, fireworks tomorrow night, but I think President Trump will, regardless of where people stand, and there will be times he's at odds with his own party, but he's created this consensus within the populist movement of people who want to make America strong, healthy, and ultimately great again. So you have a lot of the standing up or sitting down. but I'm interested to see where the Democrats will throw the spaghetti now. It seems like they're running out of room on the wall to make a point. We have Cory Booker out there a lot talking nonsense, but it really does not go in line with what most of the American people believe. And because President Trump is really tackling issues that are bigger than just himself. This is clearly a movement of great patriots who have come together to save the country.
Exactly. So we're monitoring a number of news headlines here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, including seeing if there's any more details for the Epstein files. We'll see what happens there. So we're monitoring that. We're also monitoring any other news happening in South Carolina when it comes to around 175 wildfires in that state. So we'll see, hopefully today that will be taken care of and contained. But as of last night, some of those videos were pretty bad.
It's scary to think about, and we've had a lot of natural disasters recently, or even man-made, and we will stay on this to find the most up-to-date information for you right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, because, yeah, uncommon to have that many fires in South Carolina, at least historically speaking. You know, it's a humid area, but I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of that and bring that to you here at the network.
And this as the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, working hard on the air traffic control and FAA situation when it comes to having the best people in those positions, obviously because of safety.
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your sex is or your political philosophy or the color of your skin. It's about, are you able to operate a jet? Are you able to be at NTSB? That's a tough job, too. I mean, you really have to stay focused overnight hours, you know, even if it's during the day. Just very complicated. You got to be good with numbers at math. So I would not be good at this job. I would never apply for it because that is a complicated situation. And we've seen a lot of close calls recently. You know, even going another direction, according to Spectrum Local News, we're hearing a lot about this New York riot within the jail center there. And Jennifer Berry, who is the wife of an Attica Correctional Facility correction officer, saying we need national intervention. So there's been so much coming across President Trump's desk, whether it is state, local, or national issues that have really called for his attention, and he's jumping right on top of them. So I think he will sprinkle in a number of different issues tomorrow night to really talk about not only the successes in the last 6 weeks, but also what needs the most focus and attention, especially the stuff in Russia and Ukraine.
Exactly. So that's what's great about having an all-star cast of patriots, aka the cabinet, around President Trump. Because if you look at a football team, you might have Tom Brady at quarterback, but you need to have a good receiver. You need to have an offensive line. You need to have a running back. You need to have a defense. And we the people, the crowd, voting and all that. You know, it's a whole analogy there for you. But still, we know that he has a team that are on the right side of history. So looking forward to seeing this announcement here in just a minute. We're going to go to a commercial break. If the announcement starts during the commercial break, we'll go to it live at the Roosevelt Room. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is Robert McNeely. We'll be right back on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Parents, do your kids know what courage really means? It's about standing up for America even when there's a target on your back. That's why Mike Huckabee's team created the Kids Guide to the Courage of the President. This important guide tells kids everything they need to know about President Trump's unwavering courage, and you can get it for free. With your free order, you'll receive free bonus gifts, including the Kids Guide to President Trump and a Christmas ornament commemorating Trump's call for us to fight. Get it all for free at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Families across the nation have arrived at a heartbreaking crossroad to surrender their beloved animals at alarming rates due to inflation and soaring costs of living.
There are so many overcrowded shelters. So many dogs need a home, but it's all of us working together to solve this crisis.
This fight requires both doers and dollars. Join us at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. Please sign up today.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live as we take a live look there at the White House, getting ready to see when this announcement will be made in the Roosevelt Room by the Commander-in-Chief. We'll go there as soon as we get that live picture, that live feed. We'll send it to it as soon as that happens. President Trump just 5 minutes ago on Truth Social saying Europe has spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine by far, President Trump says. He also says, a post right after that, 4 minutes ago, to the great farmers of the United States, get ready to start making a lot of agricultural product to be sold inside of the United States. Tariffs will go on external product on April 2nd. Have fun, he says. So we're seeing a few posts there by the president.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, you know, the common sense that we're seeing with the Maha agenda as well, and something that RFK Jr. very passionate about, because right now our farmers and our ranchers generally suffering, and it's not only the chemicals being used on their own farms, but even Europe won't purchase some of our poultry and our meats because of the additives that are in some of the local produce. So this makes a lot of sense for a country that literally spans from one shining sea to the next, that we can be completely self-sufficient. And we know that Zelensky tried to make that argument the other day, and that's when President Trump, that buildup, if you watch that 50-minute conversation in the Oval Office, starting very jovial, but then things really kind of going off-ramp because of Zelensky's comments. And that was that moment that President Trump said, you're not going to say when we're going to feel something. You're not going to threaten our people. I believe he took that as a direct threat. Maybe he'll elaborate more on that today during the announcement or tomorrow during the speech, in fact. But really a good moment for everyone to see where diplomacy can be strengthened by being able to walk away. And that's what President Trump said. Okay, you don't want to sign this deal that we have? You come back and talk to us when you're ready for peace.
And then President Trump talking about the farmers here in this country getting ready to, hey, you know, sell within this country more. If you look at it, Ukraine is one of the top export imports for wheat here in this country. So that's interesting. Is that connected? Who knows? We'll see what happens with the relationship between Zelensky and President Trump moving forward. Of course, we'll hear this announcement as soon as we get to it. As soon as we get it, we'll go there live. Also, in other news, leading report on X saying Representative Anna Paulina Luna calls for the United States to leave America last and globalist NATO. That, according to leading report. And also, Tim Walz reportedly considering running for president in 2028. Woo-hoo.
I'd love a rematch with Vice President Vance and Tim Walz again. I think we know how those debates would go.
Exactly. We saw exactly how that went. You remember when when Vice President Vance had that look like this to the side when it became a meme, as you guys saw out there. So, yeah, we're following a lot of news right now here at the network, and of course, as soon as we get that feed at the Roosevelt Room, we'll go there. But also, at about 2 o'clock, the First Lady of the United States, of course, Melania Trump, has a 2 o'clock roundtable discussion. At 3 o'clock, Linda McMahon will have a Senate hearing or a Senate vote for her Secretary of Education position. And then, of course, tomorrow in prime time, President Trump will have his speech to the joint session of Congress. So with Right Side, of course, we'll stay on a certain live stream, but sometimes if there's added live streams of other events, that might be the case. We'll see as we continue our live coverage right now. So Colonial Metals Group is one of the sponsors that provides us the ability to do what we're doing today. So also a great product that we're partnering with Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Yes, and the freegoldguide.com/RSBN, it will detail how gold and silver can help you with your portfolio, whether that's saving for retirement or making a large purchase. How about sending those kids to Auburn University? That gets expensive over time. So you might as well scan that QR code, shield your savings now, and see in the Gold Guide how gold has gone up 7,000% ever since 1971. We went off of the gold standard during the Nixon administration. That was in part because of the petrodollars that we traded with Saudi Arabia. We saw that change, last 4 years under Biden, where Saudi Arabia was dealing in yen and with the BRICS nations, and really you saw that Chinese influence. Now that's starting to change, thank God, but it's an important thing to do to make sure you shield your savings, and the time-tested commodity for that, gold, silver, precious metals.
Yeah, so it's just freegoldguide.com/RSBN. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Gold and silver, high value, of course, a great company there, Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com. So we were talking about Auburn a little bit, Auburn University. Well, if you're ever wondering behind us, what is behind us in this image, that is of Auburn, Alabama. So just if you ever were wondering, there it is. So that's what you see. So we're seeing, of course, there on the right side of the screen is the White House in Washington, D.C. So it's 1:42 Eastern Time. We've been monitoring a lot of President Trump's Truth Social posts and also getting ready for that speech, not only today, but also for tomorrow night. Again, for people that are just joining us, a huge primetime speech tomorrow. You can see it right here on Right Side.
Oh, yes. It will lay out for the American people where President Trump has been not only in the last 6 weeks, but where he sees everything going. And this joint address will be one for the record books. It's something that a good way for President Trump to reach out to those who may not be watching every single day and to lay out his foreign policy, one that has been really contrived by the far left as something that's dangerous. But we know that they are globalists. We know that they have a different agenda, and it's wonderful to have guests who really detail all of that out in regards to the military-industrial complex and those special interests that try to get the ears of Republicans and Democrats. And I love that Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna calling for the removal from NATO. It might be necessary at this point because it's become an outdated resource.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll monitor the latest developments with that. Also, when it comes to the Florida representative, she was talking about that declassification task force of various things, RFK Jr. Assassinations, JFK and on, MLK, So we're looking forward to seeing what the details are because we want to know, did our government have a role in these kind of things? And of course, we all have our opinions on that. That today might not be the show to talk about it, but I mean, it's great to see that we are uncovering a lot of things, especially corruption at various levels of our government.
Oh yes, we have to. It's, I think, really the thing that President Trump revealed in his first term, and now in the last few weeks, pulling back that proverbial red curtain, and so many more people into this entire movement and interested in politics now because people stepping up wanting to make a difference.
Exactly. So we see that President Trump's doing that. We see that all-star team of cabinet members doing that. And it's only Lori Chavez-Dreamer that we're awaiting for the Secretary of Labor for her to get that vote. Also Linda McMahon today for the Secretary of Education. And also the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Elise Stefanik. So once those three great patriots are at their positions, then you're right. You said it before, 21-0. undefeated. And I think that's what our country is right now. We are undefeated. We are moving forward. We have overcome so much at the leadership of President Trump, but we were all in that with him as we went through those attacks that he faced, and still indirectly faces some of them with the media and that kind of thing. But so we're talking about being loyal, but we're not just loyal because of loyalty's sake. This is also because someone's standing for the right things and standing on the right side of history.
Right, exactly. And you look at the last 4 years, not only the cancellations of him from social media platforms and then regaining that access, but think about all the people that suffered because of mandates or lost a job, perhaps in certain situations lost a life because of big government intervention. And I just think about all these people who are now free, who were not free, who simply went to, say, a Planned Parenthood and would pray outside of that. A lot of those folks were put into solitary confinement. President Trump has been really working around the clock for commutations, for pardons, and really sending a shockwave throughout the establishment. And you think about someone like Governor Rod Blagojevich from Illinois, who we had the opportunity to visit and interview with at the Hispanic Ball in Washington, D.C. Because of the full pardon now, it was initially a commutation, he could actually run for municipal office and federal office in Illinois. So he's still banned from state office per the initial what was voted on by those deep staters in Illinois, run by Mike Madigan way back in the day. But what if he ran for mayor of Chicago? I mean, Brandon Johnson, very unpopular right now, only a 6% approval rating.
Yeah, that's a very small percentage of the people there in the Chicago area, New York, wherever you are. They're seeing what the right side of history looks like versus the woke ideology that's out there. So, all right, so it's 1:47. Let's talk about American financing as we wait for the Roosevelt Room live video feed there at the White House. AmericanFinancing.net, $800. You could save that on average per month. Great number right there.
Right. If you reach out today as well, they could actually probably delay the next 2 payments for you. So you're actually looking at roughly $1,600 worth of savings. And with inflation the way it still is, a really smart go-to at American Financing and talking to those great patriots today.
All right, so AmericanFinancing.net, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we are at 147, a great number there, 47, as it's the 47th Commander-in-Chief we're waiting on there at the Roosevelt Room of the White House. And then tomorrow, that speech that will be a primetime speech will really set the record straight. I mean, it's already getting set straight when it comes to what happened in the Oval Office last week with Zelensky. But so hopefully there's still peace that can be found between those two countries.
Yes, it's really crucial at this point with millions dying because of this conflict. That's where President Trump is at. I want peace. He said that consistently for the last several years. And to his point, too, it would have never happened if he had remained in office. You have a situation where his predecessors really failed on this. Putin moved during the Bush administration, during the Obama administration, during the Biden administration as well. And this is on the heels of the agreements made by the Clinton administration to remove Ukrainian nuclear weapons, in turn giving this indefinite promise that America and NATO and Europe as well would protect Ukraine. You've seen how that has faltered and failed. And there was also the agreement that NATO would not seek to move in on the borders of Russia. And this is not, again, Russian propaganda, as some will claim. It's simply the fact of the matter that Russia had expectations in the agreement, so did Eastern Europe. And NATO has not been fair in those situations. Now, it wasn't right of Putin to move his military into Ukraine. That was wrong. But traditionally, that territory was Russian territory going back before the USSR. So 2 wrongs don't make a right, and President Trump really the deal maker here to make sure peace happens and that no one continues to die in this, because it's a stalemate now. It's really no one's going to really win out in this situation, and that's something he's trying to show to Zelensky, but clearly he doesn't want peace right now.
Yeah, and that's what the action's speaking louder than the words there with that. So we'll monitor the hopeful peace between Russia and Ukraine. Also, if you remember last week with the fireworks within the Oval Office, I asked on Truth Social, I said, how many times have you watched the Oval Office exchange today? I asked that 2 days ago. I said, you have the options there, once, twice, or lost count. Well, 110 people said 78% of them said they lost count. So people were watching that on replay, and that kind of thing. And then, of course, over the weekend, kind of an interesting situation, Robert, where 3 general aviation aircraft, so at different times between, I believe it was 12 and 1:30, smaller, pilots with smaller planes flew into temporary restricted airspace in Palm Beach, Florida, which where President Trump is, of course, at that time. And then there had to be jets that were from Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City had to be sent to Florida, and it came to a point that they actually had to shoot flares near those planes to get their attention, saying, "Get out of here! This is restricted airspace."
Right.
And so what I found out after calling the Tyndall Air Force Base spokesperson, who had this cell phone on the actual press release, he said, "Listen, what happens is these temporary flight restrictions, they pop up. These TFRs, they pop up, and if a pilot's not checking their daily logs and checking all the information, they miss it." And so what happens is these guys fly into areas that are now restricted, and they didn't even know it.
Oh, interesting.
So so our F-16s had to get scrambled and flown all the way over there to the east side of Florida to take care of that. So that was kind of a thing that was talked about on X a little bit. People were really concerned. Well, we all were. I was like, well, so why are there 3 different planes at different times, smaller planes, flying near Palm Beach? And so that's some details. If you'd like to learn more about it, it's on my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez. But also, it looks like SpaceX, the Starship launch, the 8th one will happen today. I believe it's going to be at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. So that'll be kind of cool. That's a bit later today. Maybe around 7 o'clock that'll happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. And thanks for that information too about airspace, because we have small planes that come in and out of Auburn as well, because very regional local airport, but some big names who have played sports here over the years. So Charles Barkley, Bo Jackson, and company, who are coming on in to see the #1 basketball team in the country. But I think about Elon Musk too. I mean, all this stuff he's working on, and President Trump has mentioned it. How does he have time for all this?
Yeah.
And it's always fun to sometimes catch Elon, as at least last week he came off of Marine One with President Trump and ran into the White House, and he had his stuffed plane, if you will, from Air Force One, saying, "Hey, press, look where I was," and you can see he's really enjoying the process.
Yeah, exactly, and enjoying the Doge situation. Uncovering so much of these expenditures to other countries and woke ideology programs, that kind of thing. And back to the point of the jets the other day, he said if the pilots, these general aviation pilots, if they're flying in restricted airspace, if they don't respond to the FAA or the ATC comms, that's when NORAD will send jets. That's what happened over the weekend.
Wow.
I mean, there was a press release sent about this whole thing. So for those that were following that story just from over the weekend. So so it's not like they just send jets right away. It's the FAA is trying to get them. The ATC, air traffic control, is saying, "Hey, you're in restricted airspace. Get out of here." Obviously, they did it for some reason, and then the jets had to shoot the flares near the civilian planes.
So pilots, check your logs.
Yeah, check. It's called specifically, the logs, but it's also called the NOTAMs, the FAA Notice to Air Mission. So, and that's just a reminder that press release said too, Tyndall Air Force Base, that it's just a reminder out there for those that fly. I don't fly. Did you ever think about trying to fly?
I'm thinking about it, especially given that with I see those planes flying overhead in Auburn. I'm like, that would really be fun.
That would be cool.
But I have an issue with heights, so that's why I like to face my fears.
So wait, hold on now. All right, so we're waiting for, obviously, the president there at the Roosevelt Room, but I have to ask Robert on the fly here. So you're saying that you have heights, scared of heights even from the plane?
Not necessarily like a commercial liner,
okay.
But it's something, I've gone up in those single-engine jets and such, and it's like, oh boy, let's take a breath here. But, or even like, hiking or climbing mountains and such. And I will post those photos online for you, because something I used to do when I was doing mainstream news up in Alaska, I like to go on those big heights, and I actually did a free climb once. It wasn't too long, but it's
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it was fun. So
I mean, I like Cedar Point. Those of you in Ohio watching right now, Cedar Point, one of the greatest amusement parks with roller coasters. I haven't been in some time, but you wouldn't like any
I
of
don't
that.
like roller coasters.
No? Okay. And I'm not going to skydive, and I'm not going to bungee jump though. Because I don't like heights that much.
I might have to try the skydiving. We'll see what happens. We'll post that for you if it does.
All right, that'd be fun. All right, there you go. All right, so it's almost the top of the hour here, 1:55 Eastern. You're watching RSBN Live. Guys, thank you so much for streaming in, hanging here with us as we get ready to go to the White House there and see President Trump with this announcement that'll be happening at any minute now. As we saw on the schedule earlier today, we receive a White House presidential public schedule email to us here at the network, and it said 1:30 that the president would be making an announcement from the Roosevelt Room. So we follow those kind of directives in the sense of the leads of what's going on. And then, of course, it's 1:55. We'll be going there as soon as we can, as soon as we get that feed. Let's go to Free Trump Book in the meantime. freetrumpbook.com, and there are more than just that one right there. There's so many topics, Robert.
Oh, there are a lot to cover. Not only the Kid's Guide to President Trump, but the Kid's Guide to the Courage of President Trump, and other issues and policy manuals that our young little patriots can understand. Even your apolitical or silly, goofy next-door neighbor who might not be paying attention, which how can you not be in a day and age like this? But freetrumpbook.com, running right now, you can get these great gifts for free, just pay shipping and handling, and you get a Christmas ornament. So jump ahead on all of your Christmas shopping and mention the fact that it's free. So it makes sense.
And speaking of Christmas, so I love Christmas cookies. I like Russian tea cakes. Oh, call me a Russian spy or something.
Oh, you propagandist.
Oh, no. But those, my family calls them, I guess, snow cookies or whatever, but I call them Russian tea cakes. Anyway, so we had some of those yesterday. My wife put them in the freezer from over Christmas time. I didn't even know there were some left.
Oh, surprise.
So she
I haven't been over to the house in a while.
Yeah, she's like, do you want some cookies? I'm like, I want cookies. And then here comes my favorite cookie. But anyway, we're talking about Christmas ornaments. freetrumpbook.com, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's almost 2 o'clock, and there's a number of things happening at 2 o'clock as well, as the First Lady Melania Trump will hold a roundtable discussion. We'll be monitoring when we get all the various feeds that happen. I mean, that's part of being live like we are, where other networks go to all this other stuff. We stick to, hey, this is what we're covering, and especially when it comes to the White House, everything inside the Beltway. It's important information to have the speech from start to finish, just like we did during the rally days. And if there are any more rallies, trust me, we'll be there.
Well, absolutely. It's very essential for you to see, everything the president has to say and other things that are affecting your day-to-day living, here in the United States and around the world as well. And we thank you to those, maybe the international outlets or viewers that might be tuning in so we could showcase what's actually happening in the United States, because we see that on the rallies. For example, other networks would simply go to after the rally. Maybe there was an agenda, maybe there wasn't, but not showing the crowds. And that's why we jumped in here roughly starting in 2015 to show you what actually was happening on the ground with this natural phenomenon of this businessman who was really well known, especially for his work on The Apprentice and reality TV, to then become the leading presidential candidate and ultimately the 45th and 47th president of the United States. I mean, it's an all-American story.
It is an all-American story, and we're hearing from First Lady Melania Trump 30 minutes ago saying, "Be best. On my way to the Hill to advocate for the Take It Down Act bill. I urge Congress to pass this important legislation to safeguard our youth." So we'll hear more about that. About 30 minutes ago, that from the First Lady on her X page, and then the White House reposting that. We're also seeing a report from WNBC that Pope Francis suffers new breathing crisis, is back on non-invasive ventilation, that according to Vatican, and Breaking 911 posting that with WNBC as well. So following a number of stories here live right now. And later today, of course, we have a number of interviews coming up. We may have to record some of them depending on what's live. But the Christian artist Chris Tomlin will be joining us at about 2:45 Eastern time, depending on what's going on with the live events. And then also a bit later, Harrison Fields, along with the press office at the White House, will be joining us at about 5 Eastern. And again, if we're not live at that time, we will be able to record these interviews and air them the next time we're live, which, the way the news cycle's been, it could be later tonight, could be tomorrow morning.
Right, and we love to give you that deep dive as well with our interviews, especially recently coming off the heels of CPAC and the great opportunities we've had there of interviewing people, even international leaders like Nigel Farage here at the network, so you can hear directly from them how they view things going on in the world, especially with the hot topics of Russia and Ukraine. And I can't wait to see your interview with Harrison. That'll be great, because you might have recognized his great work here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as he joined us for a number of rallies during the campaign season.
Exactly, and of course looking forward to, if there are any White House press briefings this week, we'll bring that to you live. And any other announcements. I mean, today this was something that we saw on the president's schedule earlier this morning, that there would be an announcement at 1:30 Eastern. Of course, it's now 2 o'clock, right on the nose there. So as soon as we get that live feed, we'll go to it. And you can see, of course, the First Lady will hold a roundtable discussion. So we'll be able to check out these various live events. And in some cases, if we have to record it or upload it, you'll be able to still see it, whether that's on Rumble or YouTube or wherever you're watching right now. So let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Obviously, the mega sale still happening, and it's always good to have a sale, especially with his great products.
Oh yes, the My Cross, save 30%. How about a 6-pack of My Towels for $29.98, or those comfortable flannel sheets, $44.98. Give them a call today, 800-836-7566. That is mypillow.com/RSBN. With over 2,000 products available on the website, you can save up to 80% off everything now. So be sure to check them out, and especially that mega sale, because there's no better way to start off your morning than with your prior evening enjoying MyPillow products.
Yeah, there's so many awesome products with mypillow.com. So just go to mypillow.com/RSBN for up to 80% off of everything. It's always fun to peruse all those kind of things. With things like Amazon and all that too, it's hard not to sometimes just keep swiping, but you gotta save money too. So it's an interesting dynamic there. But mypillow.com, definitely, if you purchase anything using that RSBN promo code, indirectly we get some of that, because it's a great partnership, and it's awesome to have people that donate to this network as well.
Yes.
Many people have donated to Right Side Broadcasting Network over the years, and we thank you for doing that. So all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801 as we continue to grow here at this network. And it will be great to interview and to see Christina Loren and Ashley Brassfield, who will be joining our coverage tomorrow through some interviews as we continue to grow at the network.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time to get out there. We want to take you outside the Beltway as well to see what's going on, perhaps in your neck of the woods. So we appreciate your support here at the network. RSBnetwork.com/donate, or you can text right there, RSBN, to 801-801. We know it's hard right now financially, with inflation, but this administration tackling it every single day. And I'm sure that might be a highlight in the speech as well tomorrow, about those initiatives to really see how it's affecting your wallet and your pocketbook, because that's a big reason why President Trump was elected again in the first place, to really solve these problems, these kitchen table issues for most Americans.
Exactly. So we're looking forward to seeing that speech tomorrow night. But of course, the announcement, whatever that announcement is today, we'll be watching and learning more from President Trump. And I know that I think today he really probably is just wanting to get out of the gate, just like a racehorse. As soon as that thing opens, he's ready to go. This is also a live picture to the First Lady Melania Trump's roundtable discussion that'll be taking place. So this is what it looks like we'll be doing, unless I receive other directive, is as soon as we see the First Lady, we can go there live. We'll also be monitoring when President Trump's announcement will be. So we'll be able to take that live as well as we continue our live coverage here. So as long as that sounds good to everybody, I think that's probably what we'll do.
That sounds wonderful. It's and they're working at a breakneck pace, the two of them. So sometimes they might have different events at the same time. But it's nice to see such an active and responsible First Lady, and someone who I think at times can be underestimated, but was so impressive. Remember, they were out in California, Pacific Palisades, really talking to the people who lost so much. I mean, in some cases, their entire properties and their homes. So it was just sad and tragic to begin with. But she was speaking in her traditional Sylvanian tongue. So that was really great to see with someone who was living there in the Palisades and really trying to figure out what would be best for that moving forward. So perhaps another thing President Trump can cover tomorrow night with FEMA and its future, because they really failed the American people under the Biden administration.
They sure did. They sure did. I mean, because at the end of the day, now we're shifting over and looking at South Carolina with a number of fires there. So again, it comes down to common sense being used by our president to get rid of corruption in various parts of departments, and he has an all-star cast of patriots to do that job as well. So speaking of an all-star, the First Lady Melania Trump to be there in just a little bit on Capitol Hill, as we're monitoring a lot of live news today here on this Monday, March 3rd. Looking forward to St. Patrick's Day. It's not that close yet, but it's getting there.
It's 2 weeks from today, one of my favorite holidays.
Yeah, definitely one of mine as well. It's just a fun holiday, and I remember being a part of a parade in one of the previous markets I worked in. It was a St. Patrick's Day parade, and it was just great to see all the people there and just having a great time. So it's and also I found out that I have some Irish in me as well. So
this is a really special one for you, realizing you are part of the chosen people.
That's great. Italian, Irish, and Cuban. My grandpa was from Cuba, so that's why I have the last name Alvarez. Is that the First Lady? Nope, that doesn't.
I think that's her.
That is her.
That
okay,
is her,
so
with,
let's go
Senator
to
Cruz.
the First Lady, Melania Trump, right there for this roundtable on Capitol Hill.
Well, welcome everybody. And I want to start by thanking the First Lady for joining us today, and thank you for your support of this incredibly important legislation, the Take It Down Act, which has already passed the Senate unanimously, and I am hopeful that the House will soon take it up and pass it and put it on the President's desk to be signed into law to protect young women and young boys and all of those who are being victimized across the country. I also want to thank our brave victims and victim advocates who are here: Elliston Berry, Francesca Mani, Brandon Guffey, and Breeze Liu. Thank you for being here. Each of you have endured the unspeakable, and your courage standing up and speaking for others is really remarkable. I also want to thank Stefan Turkheimer with RAIN for your advocacy and support on this issue as well. Thank you for your leadership. And of course, I want to thank Senator Klobuchar, who is the lead Democrat sponsor in the Senate, and Representative Salazar and Representative Dean, who are the lead sponsors in the House, who've worked alongside in this important bipartisan legislation. If you're a victim of revenge porn or AI-generated explicit imagery, your life changes forever. Most likely, you've been targeted by someone you know, and you're likely struggling to have that material removed from the internet. Disturbingly, many of these victims are teenagers at American high schools who are facing a surge in AI-generated sexual images. Hundreds of teens, often targeted by their own classmates, are enduring senseless psychological harm, knowing that these fake images exist and they're still out there. And in many cases, there's no recourse for these teenage victims. But this issue extends beyond high school. There are thousands of cases where predators have used non-consensual intimate images to extort victims, both sexually and financially. And the results can be even more traumatic than financial loss, as we'll hear today. In dozens of instances, parents and siblings have suffered unbearable pain, having lost their child or their brother or their sister to suicide because the victim felt there was no way out from sextortion. Outside of high school, many adults are also dealing with the very real and dire consequences of having their sexually explicit images shared online without their consent. I have heard from victims of sexual abuse, of rape, of human trafficking, who strongly support the Take It Down Act because they desperately want some of the most traumatic moments of their lives taken off the internet. The Take It Down Act empowers victims across the entire United States. It makes it a felony for these deviants to publish any non-consensual intimate images, including fake, lifelike pornographic images of real people. Just as importantly, our bipartisan bill requires big tech to have a notice and takedown process so that every victimized American, not just the rich and famous, but everyone, has a right to get these disturbing images taken offline immediately. We are today one step closer to making this dream a reality. Just 3 weeks ago, the Senate unanimously passed the Take It Down Act. Now it goes to my House colleagues, and I have every assurance and confidence that the House will take this up, pass it, and put it on the President's desk so that we can protect the victims of these predators. And we're very excited to be joined today by the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump. Mrs. Trump has long been a champion for protecting our nation's children with her Be Best initiative. And I can think of no more important issue for our First Lady to lean on than protecting children online. Your success will mean our children's success and healing for thousands of victims. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump. Well.
Thank you so much, Senator Cruz.
I think that should be on.
Is it on?
It's not very loud.
Good afternoon. I'm here with you today with a common goal: to protect our youth from online harm. The widespread presence of abusive behavior in the digital domain affects the daily lives of our children, families, and communities. Addressing this issue is essential for fostering a safe and supportive environment for our young people. I hope today's roundtable builds awareness of the harm caused by non-consensual intimate imagery, and eventually the approval of the Take It Down Act bill in Congress. In today's AI-driven world, the threat of privacy breaches is alarmingly high. As organizations harness the power of our data, the risk of unauthorized access and misuses of personal information escalates. We must prioritize robust security measures and uphold strict ethical standards to protect individual privacy. As First Lady, my commitment to the Be Best initiative underscores the importance of online safety. In an era where digital interactions are integral to daily life, it is imperative that we safeguard children from mean-spirited and hurtful online behavior. Ensuring their protection is not just a responsibility, but a vital step in nurturing tomorrow's leaders. Here with us today is Alison Berry, a 15-year-old brave young woman. Alison Spears used AI to create non-consensual intimate images of her and then spread the images across social media. They superimposed her face into pornographic content without her consent, solely to humiliate her. And authored, Alison's family contacted the social media companies for help. Their efforts fell upon deaf ears. Ultimately, the fake images circulated worldwide. It's heartbreaking to witness young teens, especially girls, grappling with the overwhelming challenges posed by malicious online content, like deepfakes. This toxic environment can be severely damaging. We must prioritize their well-being by equipping them with support and tools necessary to navigate this hostile digital landscape. Every young person deserves a safe online space to express themselves freely without the looming threat of exploitation or harm. To the brave survivors of NCII, your strength inspires the courage in others. To the advocates, your voices power our youth and hopefully bring change. And to the families, your unwavering love is a pillar of resilience. Thank you again to Senator Cruz, Speaker Johnson, House Majority Leader Scalise, Representative Salazar, Chairman Guthrie, Chairwoman McCain, Chairman Hare, and Representative Kahan for being here today and for your dedication to this important cause. I was heartened to learn that Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar united to prioritize this fundamental matter. I must admit, however, I expected to see more Democrats, leaders with us here today, to address this serious issue. Surely, as adults, we can prioritize Americans' children ahead of partisan politics. I urge Congress to prioritize the passage of the Take It Down Act bill. This legislation is essential for addressing the growing concerns related to online safety, protecting individual rights, and promoting a healthier digital environment. By advocating this bill, Congress can take an important step towards ensuring accountability and fostering responsibly online behavior. The Take It Down Act bill represents a powerful step toward justice, healing, and unity. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I want to thank the First Lady for being here, and your presence and your leadership on this issue is incredibly important, and I'm confident it's going to play a critical role in accelerating the passage of this bill and getting it passed into law so that we can protect all our kids and young women and young men across the country. I now want to turn to the leader in the House, Representative Salazar, for her remarks.
There. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to the First Lady of the United States, to Senator Cruz, for having taken up this cause. The force, as Senator said, the force of your presence, Madam, is not only going to save children's lives, but will also make this legislation the law of the land. I have no doubt that the House of Representatives will make this law a priority, as I have spoken to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So thank you for making our jobs as legislators a lot more effective. As the Senator said, the name of the legislation that we're presenting is called the Take It Down Act. Its mission is very simple. It's profound and long-lasting. It stops cyber abuse. It prevents bullying one child against another. Even more important, is going to prevent suicide out of shame. It is outrageously sick to use the images, the face, the voice, the likeness of a young, vulnerable female to manipulate them, to extort them, to humiliate them publicly just for revenge or just for fun. That is why we created this bill, and it's going to stop the abuse throughout social media. It is widely known that 99% of the time, the victim, most of them girls, don't even know that their faces, their bodies, their intimate parts are being circulated around the internet in fake, compromising pornographic images. But perception is reality, unfortunately, and even though these images do not belong to them, they are paying the price dearly. So they see it, they live it, they have to suffer it, and they don't have any recourse. as the senator said, up until today, up until now. Our bill, the Take It Down Act, finally is sending a very big message to big tech that they have to bring down these images, fake images, within 48 hours. No more time than that, no more excuses. If not, big tech then will be just as guilty as the aggressors. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok will have to comply within 48 hours when the victim demands that they take down those pornographic images. Now our messages to the bullies, to the perverts, to the predators. If you dare to do this to another innocent child, you are going to go to prison. You will serve jail time. That will be a great place where you can sit and ponder what you did and be consumed by your conscience. Up until now, the parents of victims found that the schools, they couldn't do anything. The police couldn't do anything. Nothing. Big tech couldn't do anything, according to them. No more. This legislation has taken the power away from the aggressors and the accomplices and have given it back to the victims and their parents. What a great honor for me to be part of this initiative. Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam, for making this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Salazar, for your friendship, for your leadership on this important issue. I now want to introduce our victim advocates who will share their stories and explain why it is important that we urgently pass the Take It Down Act. Here with us first are two teenage victims of AI-generated sexually exploitative images. Miss Elliston Berry of Aledo, Texas, and Miss Francesca Mani of Westfield, New Jersey. Both of these young ladies were victims of virtually the identical crime within weeks of each other. Elliston was just 14 years old when a male classmate of hers took an innocent photo off her Instagram page and used an app to create an explicit image, a deep fake AI, that in turn was sent to her classmates at school. Elliston helped inspire the Take It Down Act. And she's a Texan, and she and her mother contacted my office and relayed what happened, and we were horrified, and she was the initial inspiration for writing this bill. And Melania, I'll tell you an amazing aspect to it. When I was sitting down with Elliston and her mother, Anna, who's here as well, I asked in my office, I said, what's happened to the images? And they looked at me with enormous frustration, and they said, they're still up. It's been 9 months. Elliston's mom said she had called Snapchat, she'd emailed them, she tried repeatedly, take this garbage down of my daughter. And she had gotten no response at all, no movement. I turned to my staff in my office that afternoon and I said, I want you to get the CEO of Snapchat on the phone today. I want those pictures down today. Within 2 hours, they pulled them down. Now, it should not take a sitting senator or a sitting member of Congress picking up the phone to get a picture down or a video down. It should be the right of every American. Every teenage girl victimized should have the right to get this garbage taken down, and this bill will give them that right as a matter of federal law. And with that, Elliston, if you would share with the First Lady and share with everyone here just what happened to you, just tell your story.
Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz. I was just 14 years old when a classmate created AI nudes of me from an innocent social media picture. I was 14 years old when I was violated all over social media, and I was just 14 years old when my innocence was stripped away. October 2nd, 2023, I woke up to messages from a friend notifying me that these photos of me were circulating social media, pictures from a past Instagram photo with a nude body and my face attached, made from AI. Fear, shock, and disgust were just some of the many emotions I felt. I felt responsible and began to blame myself and was ashamed to tell my parents despite doing nothing wrong. As I attended school, I was scared of the reactions of someone could recreate these photos, and I lived in fear that they would resurface and that they would get brought up as I attended school. The school was little to no help and said that it was out of their control. I not only blamed the classmate Big Tech. The boy used a Google app called DNGG that existed to remove articles of clothing from a photo available for all ages for free. While that app is no longer available, thousands of other apps similar are available. Additionally, social media needs to be required to take action. It wasn't until Ted Cruz's office heard my story and reached out to Snapchat personally, and then my photos were removed. We need to hold big tech accountable to take action. I came here today to not only promote this bill, but to fight for the freedom of so many survivors. Millions of people, male, female, teenage, children, kids, all are affected by the rise of this image-based sexual abuse. This is unacceptable. The Take It Down Act will give a voice to the victims and provide justice. I want to say thank you to Senator Ted Cruz and his team. Thank you to all the advocates pushing this bill and this legislation. It is vital for the growing of technology. The situation is bigger than politics. This bipartisan bill is protect America's children. Thank you to the First Lady and the House leadership for understanding how important this issue is and taking time to learn about this vital piece of legislation. I share my story to give victims a voice they never heard and had changed this horrible situation into something good. Thank you to everyone who is supporting this. It is so inspiring to know that my voice is being heard, giving hope to not only me, but to all the many people that have been affected by this. It is truly so amazing how this awful situation has turned into good. Thank you.
So I'll tell you, Elliston and I and her mother several months ago had the opportunity to do a number of TV interviews, and we went on Good Morning America, and at the end of it, I think Good Morning America was ready to offer Elliston an anchor spot. I think the folks interviewing us got nervous for their jobs because thank you, both you and your mom have enormous courage, and you're standing up and speaking the truth, and it has a power to change and protect others. What is remarkable is in the exact same month that Ellison was being victimized, 2,000 miles away in New Jersey, Francesca Manni was going through the exact same situation. She was also 14. She was also a target of this same predation. And like Elliston, Francesca has spoken out about her experience. Both Francesca and Elliston testified at a field hearing that I held in Dallas. Francesca recently appeared on 60 Minutes to tell her story, and she's another incredible young woman, along with her mom, who are standing up and fighting to protect others. And so, Francesca, thank you for being here as well, and would you please tell us what you experienced?
Okay. Is it on? Okay. At 14 years old, my classmates created deepfake images of me and other girls at my high school. The most disturbing part, not just that they thought it was okay, but that the school failed to hold them accountable. While the girls' names were announced over the intercom, the boys were quietly pulled from their classrooms, a blatant violation of privacy and disrespect towards us. Despite the seriousness of the incident, only one boy received a one-day suspension. 2 years later, those responsible are still in my school, representing in team sports as if nothing ever happened. That is not okay. When I asked my school why they weren't using the code of conduct or HIB policies, their response, they need to be updated to include AI. My response was, then update it. It took them 1 year to make changes, yet my mom's lawyers created an updated version within a week of that incident. The HIB investigation, which was supposed to take 10 days, dragged on for almost a year, completely unacceptable. The school's only response to the community was a single email dismissing the issue as widespread misinformation. This silence sent a dangerous message. To the girls, you are not worth fighting for. And to the boys, what you did is okay. I expected clear and decisive action. The school should have said, this is not okay and you are expelled. In school, the question should not be about legality alone. It should be about what is right, what is ethical. Teenagers might not know all the laws, but they do know when something is wrong. Schools need to take immediate, serious action to ensure that AI exploitation, harassment, and deepfake abuse are met with real consequences. We need laws, and with the help of Senator Cruz, Congresswoman Salazar, and now the involvement of you, the First Lady, I truly believe we are on track to passing a federal law to protect women and children. Even though AI exploitation can happen to anyone, 96% of victims of AI misuse are women and children. So we are seriously vulnerable and we do need laws. The Department of Education must finally step up and issue clear AI guidelines on how schools should handle these incidents nationwide. AI isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay. Schools must be proactive, not just in teaching students how to protect their image or avoid committing a crime through AI misuse, but also in teaching how to use AI as a tool for advancement. Throughout my advocacy, I have met incredible organizations, leaders who are focused on legislation and regulation, but that's just one part of the conversation. Since being named one of Time 100's most influential people in AI, I've had the privilege of meeting brilliant minds using AI to advance society in research, medicine, education, climate control, art, and more. Yes, AI needs regulation, but we also need to acknowledge its potential and prepare the next generation through AI literacy programs in schools ASAP. I love JFK's speech, where he challenges us to ask what we can do for our country. Lately, feels like everyone is asking what the country can do for us. With AI, we should all be asking, what can I do by myself to advance and empower my future using AI? Now, let's be clear, every aspect matters, but it must start with legislation. A strong federal law is crucial, one that shifts powers back to the victims, ensuring they can remove harmful images within 48 hours. That's not just policy, that's real tangible protection. That's take it down. We need this to pass. Thank you.
Francesca, thank you also for your courage and your strength and your clarity. Both you and Elliston are inspirational, and we're proud to have you with us today. As Francesca mentioned, over 90% of the victims of non-consensual intimate images are either women or young girls. It doesn't just affect teenagers. Adults can also be victimized. And Breeze Lou, when she was 24 years old, she got a nightmare phone call from her friend that an explicit video of hers had been posted on a pornography website. That phone call started a series of events in which Breeze would rise to lead the fight for the removal of these abusive images. Breeze, thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Tell us about what you experienced and what you've done to try to stop it.
Thank you. It is both humbling and empowering for me to be here today. On behalf of millions of survivors, I'd like to thank you for giving us a voice and shining a spotlight on this critical issue. We stand at a defining moment in human history. Artificial intelligence has given us unprecedented power and brought profound transformation. But with extraordinary technology advancement, we also face immense challenges. In April 2020, my life changed forever. A friend called to tell me that a video of me was circulating on Pornhub. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I have never even visited Pornhub, but when I clicked the link, I saw my face on a pornographic video. The devastation I felt is indescribable. I was humiliated, dehumanized, and overwhelmed with shame. But when I sought help, the system failed me. I was victim blamed and slut shamed while the perpetrator faced zero consequences. As more videos spread to hundreds of malicious websites, I nearly lost everything. My dignity, my reputation, and I almost lost my life. For every victim, there is a moment when the ground disappears beneath you, when the shame, the violation, the loss of control, it all consumes you. And then when you reach for help, you find there is none. No accountability, no recourse. Just a system that shrugs and says, it's too complicated. It's impossible to fix. The internet is too big. But America is a nation that does not accept impossible. In 1969, an American set his foot on the moon and said, that is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. This nation did something that was once believed to be impossible. With computing power equivalent to a basic calculator, we accomplished one of the greatest feats in human history. When it comes to ending online violence, America must lead. The Take It Down Act is an essential first step. It creates accountability where there was none before. It ensures that victims can have harmful content removed swiftly, lifting the unbearable burden survivors have long carried alone. If legislation is the foundation, technology is the bridge. History will not remember us for the tools we build. It will remember us for how we choose to wield it. The internet, AI, the digital tools are not inherently good or evil. They reflect the values of those who control them. This is a tech-enabled problem, and it requires a tech-enabled solution. The same technology that created this issue can also power its solution, and this is why we find hope. And this is what my work at Electo AI is about, building human-centered AI to combat AI abuse. To those who say this problem is too big, I say this: America is not in the habit of backing down from hard fights. Today, the smartphone in our pocket holds computing power thousands of times greater than what NASA used during the Apollo program. We have the technology to fix this. We have the legislation to create accountability. Now we need the will to act. This is a nation that has always led the world in shaping the future, not waiting for someone else to do it first. The future is being decided now. So let us rise to this challenge, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. It is time to reclaim our humanity in a digital age. Let history show that when faced with injustice, we did not stand idly by. We fought, we built, we progressed, and we won. Pass this bill. Take action. Let us build a digital future that is safe, just, and worthy of the generations to come. Do not let my yesterday become their tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Breeze, thank you very much for your courage and your clarity. What you experienced and Elliston experienced and Francesca experienced was a grotesque violation of your privacy and your fundamental rights. And each of you has used that pain to advocate for others and to try to stop someone else from being victimized the way you have been. Although the vast majority of the targets of this abuse are women and young girls, young boys can be targeted as well. And the FBI has warned that there's a growing threat of sextortion deliberately targeting minors online, where evil people use either real or fake explicit images to extort their victims both sexually and financially. And in some instances, the results can be even more devastating and catastrophic. And that was the tragic situation that South Carolina State Representative Brandon Guffey and his family experienced in 2022. Representative Guffey, would you please share what happened with your son?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. July 27th, 2022, I lost my oldest son, Gavin Guffey, to suicide. We quickly found out that he was being extorted online, that someone pretending to be a young female at another college requested images to be shared back and forth, and as soon as he shared those images, he took his life. It was an hour and 40 minutes from the time that he was contacted until the time that he took his life. At that time, I had never heard of the crime of sextortion. I was always a more liberty-minded politician, even though I hate to say that word. And, you know, I wanted freedom as much as possible. But as I started looking in...
Thank you very much. This is a very big day for a lot of reasons, but this gentleman is a very unique man. It's, I think I could say in the world of chips, certainly, but in the world pretty much of business, nobody's done what he's done. For those of you that are into that world, you would say, wow, he's a legend, but he is a legend, and it's an honor to be with you. Very great honor. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Welcoming from TSMC, which is the biggest there is at a level that you can't even calculate, frankly. CC Wei to the White House for a very historic announcement. This is a tremendous thing for our country and hopefully for his company. We're also pleased to be joined by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and White House AI and SIP, the crypto czar David Sachs, another two very highly respected people. It's great to have you guys involved. And David, thank you very much for coming on. David is sort of the king of intellect in that world. We have some good people. Today, Taiwan Semiconductor is announcing that they will be investing at least $100 billion in new capital in the United States over the next short period of time to build state-of-the-art semiconductor manufacturing facilities. I think mostly it's going to be in Arizona, which is what I understand, which is a great state. I like it because I won it, but I won most of them, actually. But I did. We won it, and we won it big. The most powerful AI chips in the world will be made right here in America, and it'll be a big percentage of the chips made by his company. But as you know, they're based mostly in Taiwan, and they're far and away the biggest. There's nobody even close. This $100 billion in new investment will go into building 5 cutting-edge fabrication facilities in the great state that we just discussed, Arizona, and will create thousands of jobs, many thousands of jobs, and high-paying jobs. In total, today's announcement brings Taiwan Semiconductor investments to about $165 billion they've started already. Among the largest new foreign direct investments in the United States, Apple, as you know, made a big announcement last week of $500 billion, and we have some others that have announced. We have many that want to announce. But I don't have time to do all of these announcements, I tell you. But for you, I'm doing the announcement.
Thank you.
This will create hundreds of billions of dollars in economic activity and boost America's dominance in artificial intelligence and beyond. Semiconductors are the backbone of the 21st century economy, and really, without the semiconductors, there is no economy. Powering everything from AI to automobiles to advanced manufacturing, and we must be able to build the chips and semiconductors that we need right here in American factories with American skill and American labor. And that's exactly what we're doing. As you know, Taiwan pretty much has a monopoly on that market. And I think pretty much is not a term that's even appropriate. They do have a monopoly. And this is a tremendous move by the most powerful company in the world. It's a matter of economic security. It's also a matter of national security for us. And at the same time, Mr. Wei will be able to diversify and have his a tremendous presence in another place, and a very safe place. And I want to thank Taiwan Semiconductor for doing the announcement. And I'd like to ask Mr. Wei to say a few words, if you might. And I'd also like to ask Howard and David, you can say a couple of words, but maybe you should go first, because right now he's the most important man in the room. I'm sorry, fellas. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Great
Mr.
honor.
President.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit nervous, so I have to pull out my piece of paper. Mr. President, Secretary Lutnick, and David, I didn't know that your title, but okay. First, I want to say thank you to Mr. President to give me this opportunity to announce our big project in the U.S. TSMC is the world's largest chip manufacturing, funded by Dr. Morris Chang in 1987. It's now at the forefront of semiconductor technology, supporting AI advancement and industry growth. In fact, I would like to wind back the time that in 2020, we have to thank President Trump's vision and his support. So TSMC start the journey of establishing the advanced chip manufacturing in Arizona. And now, let me proudly say, now the vision become reality. In Phoenix, Arizona, with 3,000 employees, we are producing the most advanced chip made on U.S. soil. With the success of our first fab, so we are now very happy to announce we are going to invest additional $100 billion US in addition to our current $65 billion US investment in Arizona. We are going to build 3 more new fabs after we promised 3 fabs already, and another 2 very advanced packaging fab, and most important, R&D center also in Arizona. For this, all the investment, $165 billion, is going to create thousands of high-paid jobs, as the president just announced. And we are, most important, actually, we are going to produce many AI chips. We are going to produce many chips to support the AI progress and to support the smartphones progress. And again, with that, I want to thank President Trump again for his support. In addition, I also want to thank my customers in the U.S., such as Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. They all support TSMC's manufacturing in the U.S. Without their support, we probably cannot make it through. So again, I want to thank them. Also, I'd like to thank the TSMC's employee. Without their effort, we just cannot make it today. That's all I want to say, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Howard, please, David. Sure. Thank you.
So I'm thrilled to be here today because President Trump has made it a fundamental objective to bring semiconductor chip manufacturing home to America. Under the Biden administration, TSMC received a $6 billion grant, and that encouraged them to build $65 billion. So America gave TSMC 10% of the money to build here. And now you're seeing the power of Donald Trump's presidency, because TSMC, the greatest manufacturer of chips in the world, is coming to America with a $100 billion investment. And of course, that is backed by the fact that they can come here because they can avoid paying tariffs. So the idea is come to America, build greatness in America, build for the American customers, the Apple, NVIDIA, that whole list that Chairman Wei gave in order to bring production to America. So we're really, really excited. This continues the most incredible path you've ever seen in these first weeks and months of the Trump administration of incredible manufacturing coming to America. The keys that the president has called out are coming here. They're coming here in huge size because they want to be in the greatest market in the world, and they want to avoid the tariffs that if they're not here, they'd have to suffer. So I want to congratulate C.C. Wei for bringing in this incredible $100 billion investment, but it's on the shoulders of our President Donald Trump, which is why he's coming. So thank you.
Thank you. David?
Thank you, sir. Well, the products that TSMC makes are literally the most important products in the world. I mean, these advanced chips power everything. They power AI, they power your phone, they power your cars, and without them, the whole modern economy would stop, but they're not made in the United States. So for TSMC to move here is a huge, huge development, and we owe that to President Trump's leadership on the economy and Secretary Lutnick as well. And Cece, thank you for coming here. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, David. So thank you very much. A big percentage of chips with this investment will be made now, a big percentage. Worldwide, we had very little, almost none. We used to have a lot with Intel, but we had very little. And we'll be at close to 40% of the market with this transaction and a couple of others that we're doing. That's a tremendous leap, like a leap that nobody would have really said was possible. So I just want to thank you all for being here. If you want a couple of questions, ideally on this subject, yes.
Number of jobs that will be created. He said
You're probably talking about 25,000 jobs, but it'll get bigger and bigger with time. Knowing this gentleman, it'll get bigger and bigger. There'll be no stopping him. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
In addition to the job, you talked about national security, and that's one thing I think a lot of Americans don't understand. Explain the national security aspect of this.
Well, without the chips and semiconductors, nothing runs today. You can't buy a car without them. You can't get a radio, a television, you can't get anything. And we thought it was very important, obviously business-wise, but we thought even in terms of national security to have this large percentage of the chips, semiconductors, and other things that they make the most important product. And not a product that you can really copy. It takes years and years. You know, on the needle of a pin is total genius. I mean, they can put things... something the size of the needle, the point of a pin, they put information that is just not even believable. So if you would see this, it's just really something. Yes, Brian?
One aspect of that, Honda announced they're coming to Indiana because of the tariffs. Once again,
that's right.
Additional jobs in manufacturing. You want to comment on that as well?
Well, Honda's coming, and I told you about Apple that they're going to be starting to build massively here, $500 billion. And we have many other companies going to be announced, but we had many that have already announced. And no, it's going to be great. It's looking really strong. I don't think this country has ever seen anything like we're seeing right now. Now, the tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day because that cost a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico, if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here because we have the market. We're the market where they sell the most. And so I think it's going to be very exciting for the automobile companies, very exciting for, I can think of any, as an example, North Carolina, they had the great, I used to go there to buy furniture for hotels, and it's been wiped out. That business all went to other countries. And now it's all going to come back into North Carolina, the furniture manufacturing business, please.
Is the Ukraine minerals deal now dead, or can it be revived?
Well, I'll let you know. We're making a speech. You probably heard about it tomorrow night, so I'll let you know tomorrow night. But no, I don't think so. I think it's a great deal for us because, you know, Biden very, very foolishly, stupidly, frankly, gave $300 billion and $350 billion more accurately to a country to fight and to try and do things. And you know what happened? We get nothing. We get nothing. Just gave it. We could have rebuilt our entire U.S. Navy with $350 billion. Think of it, $350 billion. We could have rebuilt our U.S. Navy. So he gave it away as fast as the money could be gone. And what we're doing is getting that all back and a lot more than that. And what we need, it's very important for this business that we're talking about here with chips and semiconductors and everything else. We need rare earths. And the deal we have is we have the finest rare earths that you can.
Sir, Mr. President, what do you need to see from President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave $100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created. And we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Last week, 2,700 were killed. 2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death. And they're losing thousands of soldiers a week. And that's not including the people that get killed every time a town goes down or a missile goes into a town. And I want to see it stop. Yes.
Are you considering canceling military aid to Ukraine? And can we get a reaction to what the Prime Minister said, that your administration is bringing U.S. worldview in alignment with Moscow's?
So this is a deal that should have never happened. This is a deal that would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It didn't happen. It was never even close to happening. If I were president, it would not have happened. And October 7th would not have happened in Israel. And inflation wouldn't have happened. And Afghanistan, disastrous, the way they withdrew. Not the fact that they withdrew, but the way they withdrew would have never happened. And we would have had Bagram right now instead of China having it. It was 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. We would have kept Bagram with one of the biggest air bases in the world. All of these things happened, and it's a shame. But it is what it is, and now we're here. I want to see it end fast. I don't want to see this go on for years and years. Now, President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
This project, could this minimize the impact of the U.S. with chips should China decide to isolate Taiwan or China decide to take Taiwan?
Well, it's a very interesting point. It's a great question, actually, but this would certainly, I can't say minimize. That would be a catastrophic event, obviously. But it will at least give us a position where we have, in this very, very important business, we would have a very big part of it in the United States. So it would have a big impact if something should happen with Taiwan.
Are you looking at relieving Russian sanctions if there is a peace deal?
Well, we're going to make deals with everybody to get this war, including Europe and European nations. And they've acted very well. You know, they're good people. I know most of them are friends of mine. The heads of state, the heads of the various countries, prime ministers from the different. I got four prime ministers and 5 presidents called me over the last 2 days, and they want to work it out. They want to get it worked out. And I think they're also, you know, they're talking money, but the money is less important than the deaths. We're talking thousands of young people a week. And people would say, why do I care about Ukraine? Young people, why do I care about, and not all young, but they're pretty young. You know, Ukraine is running a little bit low, and they're getting older. They're recruiting older people. It's a very, very sad thing that's happening over there, and we want to get it finished. We want to stop the death.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight, and should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
no room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, you know, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr.
President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico, and as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico, and that's a very important thing to say. Yeah, please, go ahead.
How decided if you're going to suspend military aid to Ukraine? Have you made that decision?
Well, I haven't even talked about that right now. I mean, right now, we'll see what happens. A lot of things are happening right now as we speak. I mean, literally as we speak. I could give you an answer and go back to my office, the beautiful Oval Office. I could go back into the Oval Office and find out that the answer is obsolete. It's like his business. It's obsolete. You come up with a new chip and it's obsolete about 2 minutes later, right? But that's what's good about his business. That's why he's the only one that's successful in it. But
To follow up my colleague's question, from Russia saying that your foreign policy is largely in line with their vision, should that be concerning to Americans?
said what?
Should that be concerning to Americans?
Read the statement.
That Russia says that your administration's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with their vision.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It could be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. We talk about suffering. They've suffered. But if you think about it, under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine, the whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. So I can only say, you can go back to Bush, you can go back to Obama, and go back to Biden. They took a lot. The only one they didn't get, you know what I gave them? I gave them anti-tank missiles. That's what I gave them. I gave them sanctions on Russia. I gave them javelins. You know the javelins? You know when they took out all those tanks? You know the tanks were heading to Kiev by the hundreds, and they were unstoppable. And I gave them javelins. So, you know, I really, Putin is the one that will tell you this has not been so good for them. The fact is that I just want fairness. I want fairness. But think of it. I gave Russia nothing except grief. I gave them nothing. I gave them sanctions and javelins. That's what I gave them. Obama gave them sheets, and you heard that statement before. It's a very famous. Trump gave them javelins, and Obama gave them sheets, and then they say how close I am to Russia. And let me tell you, we have to make a deal because there are a lot of people being killed that shouldn't be killed. But remember, Trump gave them nothing, and the other presidents gave them a lot. They gave them everything.
You met with Argentine President Javier Milei at CPAC. He wants to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. Is that something that you would consider even with Argentina?
I'll consider anything. And Argentina, I think he's great, by the way. I think he's a great leader. He's doing a great job. He's doing a fantastic job. Brought it back from oblivion. Yeah, we'll look at things. We're looking at the UK with things. It doesn't have to be tariffs, but tariffs are easy. They're fast. They're efficient. And they bring fairness. For instance, when people kill their dollar, their equivalent of the dollar, whether it's the yuan or the yen in Japan or the yuan in China, when they drop them down, that puts us at a very unfair disadvantage. So all I have to do is say, Howard, we're going to have to raise the tariffs a little bit, because I've called President Xi, I've called the leaders of Japan to say you can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You can't do it because it's unfair to us. It's very hard for us to make tractors, Caterpillar, here when Japan, China, and other places are killing their currency, meaning driving it down. So all of these things add up. And the way you solve it very easily is with tariffs, because when they do that, instead of having to make phone calls every day like I used to do with certain leaders, President Xi a little bit, a lot of phone calls, talking about the fact that they're lowering their yuan, they're lowering it down, and that makes it very, very hard for us. So this way I just say, look, let them do that, and we make up for it with the tariffs. But
will you be speaking with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum about
yeah, sure, I will. I have a lot of respect for her.
Mr. President, tariffs take effect. It'll be 20% on China now. How high are you willing to go against China?
Well, I can't say. It depends on what they do with their currency. It depends on what they do in terms of a retaliation with some kind of an economic retaliation, which I don't think they're going to retaliate too much. Hey, look, the United States has been taken advantage of for 40 years. The United States has been a laughingstock for years and years. That's why this gentleman is built in Taiwan instead of building here. It would have been better if he built here. If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them very bad on trade. Look, I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade, very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now, records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When Apple now is going to start building all of their plants here, all because of what we've done in terms of, it's not because he likes me or they like me. They don't probably like me at all. I don't know. I think he likes me a little bit at least. But you know what? It's the incentive we created or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them. Say it.
Have you spoken with President Xi about this?
I don't want to tell you that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Running for New York City mayor.
Will people who don't respond to the emails be fired?
Okay, so President Trump there at the Roosevelt Room wrapping up that announcement there. And of course, we started out with the First Lady Melania Trump with her roundtable discussion earlier prior to President Trump's speech. So we can go to the remainder of the First Lady's speech and that roundtable in just a minute. But just in general, though, a lot of news happening today.
Well, I mean, these are two huge topics to tackle. I mean, the chip development here in the United States, a massive blow to the Chinese Communist Party. And again, just the investment in the United States, the amount of jobs it will continue to create. So clearly, you know, Howard Lutnick, our Commerce Secretary, very excited for that. And then Melania Trump with Senator Ted Cruz in a bipartisan fashion, along with Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, really working towards getting this hate porn and all this nasty stuff off the internet, because as you heard the testimony of some of those ladies, literally having their faces and their images put onto other bodies and such, and that's the scary stuff with AI. It's really solving many problems, but you have this going on, and the perpetrators who put it out there, whether or not they're minors or if they're older than that, destroying people's lives in the process. So it's great that this legislation has the attention it does. House Speaker Mike Johnson in that meeting as well.
Exactly. So the First Lady continuing the Be Best campaign even today. So let's go back to the remainder of that roundtable. Again, I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is Robert McNeely. Thank you so much for streaming in with us. Let's go back to that roundtable from just a few minutes ago.
Representative Brandon Guffey and his family experienced in 2022. Representative Guffey, would you please share what happened with your son?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. July 27th, 2022, I lost my oldest son, Gavin Guffey, to suicide. We quickly found out that he was being extorted online, that someone pretending to be a young female at another college requested images to be shared back and forth, and as soon as he shared those images, he took his life. It was an hour and 40 minutes from the time that he was contacted until the time that he took his life. At that time, I had never heard of the crime of sextortion. I was always a more liberty-minded politician, even though I hate to say that word. And, you know, I wanted freedom as much as possible. But as I started looking into this, I started to see that big tech operates, and they are the equivalent of big tobacco of today's generation. The account that targeted my son, that caused him to take his life, was taken down online once Homeland Security reached out. However, they left the additional accounts up. If I send a friend request, I can choose remove this account and any other accounts associated. Yet they left these other accounts up, and those other accounts began to extort my 14-year-old cousin, my 16-year-old son who had just lost his brother, and myself as well, going as far as sending a message saying, "Did I tell you that your son begged for his life?" From that day forward, I have made it my life's mission, politics or not, to fight to protect children online. Since December of 2022, whenever I took office, within 4 months, we were able to pass Gavin's Law in South Carolina, which criminalized digital sextortion. And the first person that we were able to convict under Gavin's Law was actually under an AI photograph. I have helped thousands of children since then. Matter of fact, I've dealt with 3 within the past 48 hours of families that are reaching out, that are being extorted in these situations. I've worked with groups such as Nkosi and NCMEC here on the Hill. I have showed up with parents, and unfortunately, the amount of parents that are losing children are growing daily. Since my son took his life, there's been 40 other teens that are public about this. I can tell you there's more than a dozen that I know of that just do not feel comfortable sharing their stories. But I'm witnessing teens constantly take their life. And as you said, Senator Cruz, trying to get an image down. Now, granted, I'm just a state representative, but I have a little bit more pull than the average citizen, and I'm able to get some of these taken down occasionally. But that's generally not the case. And with something such as Take It Down, it would allow families to be able to have those images taken down and to have the voice that my son did not have. There was no recourse of being able to know, to be able to get these images down. And in his mind, no one had his back, and this wasn't talked about. So since then, it's been my mission to speak up, scream it from the mountaintops on how we have to hold big tech accountable, and Take It Down does that. So for everyone involved, I really thank you for your involvement and urge for passage within the House.
Brandon, thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking out. You have endured every parent's nightmare. There is not a parent in America or on the face of the world that has not terrified of the pain and tragedy you experienced, and thank you for using Gavin's memory to spur action to protect other children. Our final speaker will be Stefan Turkheimer. Stefan Turkheimer is the Vice President of Public Policy for the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. RAIN is one of the nation's leading anti-sexual violence organizations that works diligently to ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. Stefan, I want to thank you and RAIN for your avid support and hard work to advance the Take It Down Act. And we've had a lot of discussion today about the use of AI to create fake sexually explicit images of real people. We've heard from those who've been impacted by those heinous acts. Can you describe what you're seeing across the country, how technology is changing the threat, and why Congress needs to act?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question. And thank you.
You can push the power button.
Oh, I already turned it on.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your advocacy, Senator Cruz, and thank you for being here, Madam First Lady, and thank you, Representative Salazar, for your leadership. I'm Stefan Turkheimer, Vice President of the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, and what we're best known for is running the National Sexual Assault Hotline. And the hotline's really two parts. There's a phone call, and there's also an online hotline. And during the pandemic, more than half of the people reaching out to the online hotline were children, which was very surprising to us. And we thought, well, it's people stuck at home with their abuser. There's no other ways to report. After the pandemic ends, the children will fall away from the hotline, but they didn't. And what we started seeing in the data was that things that started as maybe 1 or 2 cases a month started doubling every month from 2019 to now. And it's all image-based sexual abuse. Image-based sexual abuse is often a part of in-person sexual abuse, but it often exists on its own. And all these kids that are calling the hotline, that are reaching out, they're suffering the same trauma, the same harm, very similar harm as what happens in person. And the difference is that it keeps happening over and over and over again, every time the images resurface. And all those people on the hotline want to be able to say, is this ends now? We have a way of stopping it. But the reality is we do not. We do not have good options for those kids. We don't have an ability to get these images taken down, which is why I'm so grateful for a bill like this that will say, in 48 hours, this is done. You won't have to be re-traumatized every time you open a laptop. Every text you get, every time you hear that noise, is someone else telling you they've seen you online. That ends when this bill passes. And thank you for your advocacy, and thank you for everyone for being here.
Stefan, thank you. Thank you for your hard work and for RAIN's hard work protecting the victims of sexual violence and exploitation. It's enormously important work. I now want to give an opportunity for each of the congressional members here to either make a comment or ask a question of any of our victims or victim advocates, and we'll start with Speaker Johnson.
Thank you, Ted. Senator, great work on this. Representative Salazar, our extraordinary First Lady, for bringing this to the public's attention. I want to thank these extraordinary witnesses that we had today, Breeze and Brandon and Steph, the ladies, Elliston and Francesca. You're so articulate, you could serve in Congress. In fact, I'll recruit you in a couple of years to be here. Look, I'm just going to say very briefly, state the obvious. As the dark side of technology advances, and these unspeakable evils become part of the culture, the law has to keep up. And I'm really grateful that we have thoughtful legislators here who take the reins on this and are willing to pass legislation to address it. We are anxious to put it on the floor in the House, to get it to President Trump's desk for signature, because we've got to do what we can to stop this. And I am a full supporter of it. I'm grateful to have a moment to be with you all. Yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate your being here, and I appreciate your leadership getting this passed into law so that we can protect these victims and prevent further victims. Majority Leader Scalise.
Well, I as well want to thank Senator Cruz and Congresswoman Salazar for your leadership. We came incredibly close last year to getting this across the finish line, but I think with the leadership and the voice of the First Lady. I just want to applaud First Lady Melania Trump for lending your voice and the strength of your office to this, because I have no doubt this is going to be the year that we actually get the Take It Down Act signed into law. And I think, as you heard from Elliston, Francesca, Breeze, the horrible stories, you could have easily just walked away and hidden and had somebody else pick up the mantle to do this. But you said no. Nobody else should have to do and go through what I've been through. So I'm going to lend my voice and my experience so that we can stop anybody else from having this happen again. And when you then hear, okay, well, it's going to take an act of Congress to fix this, you probably really get concerned and say, well, I've heard how long that takes. And believe me, it can take a long time unless you've got the right coalition. And this time, I think you've got the right coalition. You have the right leaders, a bipartisan coalition. I want to thank my colleague Ro Khanna, Senator Klobuchar, for being a part of this too, because when you look at where we are now, I go back to my days in the State House of Representatives, and this is before social media, but back then, the technology for cameras was getting very, very small and more high definition. And video voyeurism was the crime of the day back then. And you would have people that would put cameras in places where you couldn't even see them and record people, willing or not, and then use it later, usually for similar kind of things, to try to shame somebody, to try to extort somebody, to try to get revenge on somebody. And what shocked us is when we started hearing these stories, when mostly young girls, and I think Elliston was the one that ran the stats, 96% of the victims are typically young girls or children. But what shocked them the most was that that was not a crime. Even when you found out who did it, wasn't a crime. So guess what? We created the law of video voyeurism, and all of a sudden people started going to jail, and the word got out. And it still happens, unfortunately, but it doesn't happen at the extent that it used to, because now people know there's consequences. The same thing will happen with the Take It Down Act, and I know he's going to talk as well, but I want to applaud Chairman Brett Guthrie of the Energy and Commerce Committee, because he and I have talked about this a number of times, and we have a high commitment, not only to bring it through his committee, but when the bill comes through committee, it will be a priority to bring the bill to the House floor quickly to get it to the president's desk for signature, because it's going to give victims two things. One, it's going to give them the protection that they deserve. To say within 48 hours, this will be taken down. The platforms will have to take it down. And then it's going to do something else that just doesn't exist at the level it should. And that is the accountability to the perpetrator. Because those boys shouldn't still be in school, strutting around as if nothing happened, as if it's your problem to deal with that they created, because nobody's going to touch them. Will you tag the word felon to the end of that name? All of those athletic ventures go away. A lot of other things go away, and people will think twice. So again, thank you, Senator Cruz. Thank you, Congresswoman Salazar, and thank you, First Lady, for lending your voice. But I really applaud the victims, because we want you to come back. I know somebody in the White House that may be able to get us an invitation to be at that signing ceremony, but just envision the day where all of your work to not just sit quietly, but to speak out on behalf of others, so that there aren't victims in the future and that there are consequences in the future. Your work will pay off. We're going to get this done this year.
Well, and thank you, Steve, for your friendship and leadership. And just to underscore something that Steve just said, I feel confident that when this bill is signed into law, that each of the victim advocates, that you'll receive a signing pen that the president used to sign it into law. And by the way, they're about this big. They're massive. Your husband does nothing small. Representative McClain, the head of the House Republican Conference, the number 3 Republican in the House, if you have any comments or questions.
Well, I have a lot to say, but unfortunately I got a short time to say it in. So let me start with thank you. Thank you for putting this on the floor. Thank you, Maria. And thank you to the First Lady to drawing attention. It is disgusting that we have to put this common sense legislation on the floor, but here we sit today, right? Representative Cont, thank you so much for being here, because this is not a partisan issue. Taking the innocence away from the most vulnerable, our children, this isn't a partisan game. This is games with our children's lives. And as parents, where are you parents? I can't even begin to imagine your emotions. I mean, I applaud you for your decorum. And for the victims, you want to talk about courageous? You want to talk about winners? You want to talk about young people with some guts? You're looking at them right here. We can't thank you enough. We're sorry from the bottom of our hearts for what you've had to go through, and for the parents, for the suffering that you have. But it is darkest before the dawn, and it starts today. So thank you for having the courage to stand up to be true winners. And we will, like the leader and the speaker said, we will get this done. We must get this done. So take a moment and reflect in your courage in everything that you've accomplished at such a young age. And parents, I don't know how much more proud you can be of your children. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you for your leadership. Now I want to recognize Congressman Kevin Hern, who is the chairman of the Republican Policy Committee, for any comments or questions.
Thanks, Senator, and First Lady, thank you so much for making us, pushing it forward. This is going to be something that, as the speaker said, this is something we need to modernize law for what's happening with technology. And somebody that's old enough to have 3 children, from 36 to 25, and now 3 grandchildren, and just had a 4th one that's a little girl. And the reason I say all that is the evolution just in our lifespan of the technology that's happened and what's happened to our generations. Bringing this to the forefront is so important for us to make a law that will fix this for future generations. It's tragic. And it shouldn't be, as you said, Senator, for those who have influence. It should be for every American to be able to protect their innocence. Artists and musicians and actors are doing it every day. They've been doing it now for 2 or 3 years. We need to make sure the least of us can have the same opportunity. And as the First Lady said, we should have everybody involved in this. This should be one of the easiest things that's ever gone through Congress. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to address any issues that might come from any of our colleagues. But again, thank you, Congresswoman Salazar, Senator Cruz, and First Lady. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you being involved.
Thank you, Kevin. Now I'd like to recognize Representative Brett Guthrie, the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, my colleague, Congresswoman Salazar. Thank you for doing the First Lady. Thank you for being here and all our advocates. I will say that now the Energy and Commerce Committee is going to have a hearing very, very soon. This bill is going to pass out of the House of Representatives. And I would have no doubt that the President would sign this bill. But I certainly have no doubt the President will sign this bill in a way that has everybody who's been part of this to be a part of it. And I'll just say, it's just kind of interesting to point out, if you think about how this started, so Senator Cruz, I just became chairman of the committee. We had a meeting right after I became chairman, called and said, hey, let's get together and talk about our issues. This is the number one issue. Our committees have a lot of jurisdiction. This is the number one thing that he brought up is the most important thing to him this session, to get through the House, from the Senate to the House of Representatives. And it started by a constituent going to visit her senator. And if you think about that, here your constituent goes to visit her senator in America, and now you're sitting next to the First Lady of the United States. This is how it's supposed to work. We're seeing how it's supposed to work. It's a horrific situation, but the response to it is the way that we're supposed to respond. So we have to respond to it. And I'm sitting here just going to guarantee you the House Energy and Commerce Committee, working with our leadership, is going to respond to it. And thanks for all of you for your advocacy, for being here and bringing this attention. Thanks, Senator Cruz, for stressing this in our very first meeting, and this is going to be a top priority over the next few weeks for the Energy and Commerce Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your leadership at ENC, and it's incredibly important. Final speaker, Representative Ro Khanna. Thank you, Ro, for joining us, and you're recognized for any comments or questions.
Well, thank you, Senator Cruz. Thank you for your leadership on this for many years. Thank you, Congresswoman Salazar, for your leadership. Speaker Johnson and Leader Scalise, thank you for, on issues like this, working in a bipartisan way. First Lady Trump, I really appreciate your bringing your humanity and looking at this as a parent and as a leader and not through politics. Your presence here obviously is going to make a big difference, and I appreciate your being here and doing so for the country in a bipartisan way. Mr. Guffey, sorry for your loss. Thank you for being here. And to Francesca, Elliston, and Breeze, I mean, you inspire all of us. And I just would say this, look, Francesca invoked John F. Kennedy. My parents came here in the 1960s from India when Kennedy was talking about going to the moon, and I know Breeze talked about that. We've got to be able to figure out some ways of coming together as a country, as divided as we are. I represent Silicon Valley. I'm very proud of the innovation. I'm very proud of the technology. But America should lead in making sure that technology protects kids and protects people. And I think this bill, as you've crafted it, Senator Cruz, balances the free speech concerns with the protections, and I'm looking forward to supporting it.
Well, Ro, thank you for being here, and let me say thank you for the bipartisan support we have in this bill. In the Senate, Senator Klobuchar is the lead Democrat author, and we've passed it unanimously through the Senate, and in the House, Madeline Dean and Ro Khanna and other Democrats are supporting it, and I'm confident. There are issues that divide us on partisan bases, but this should not be one of them. This should be one that we all come together and say, look, we need to protect our kids. We need to keep them safe. I will say to the victim advocates, you guys are extraordinary, you are courageous, you are inspirational, and you're making a real difference, so thank you. I will say to the House members, you're seeing something that I'm sure you thought was impossible, which is the Senate doing anything briefly and expeditiously, but this was scheduled to last 1 hour, and we are at 59 minutes, precisely on time. And Madam First Lady, we are grateful for your leadership. Your presence and your advocacy brings people together, inspires them, and is producing real action to fight for these young women and young boys and Americans across the country, and we're grateful. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, so 3:30, that event ending a bit ago, as we showed, of course, President Trump's announcement and then the Be Best roundtable there. So, yeah, a lot of news going on out there, especially within the Beltway.
Oh, yes, and these are crucial, things to look at with Taiwan's investment with the chip manufacturing, huge for our future with technology, and also a blow to the Chinese Communist Party in turn, but also this revenge porn topic, something Senator Ted Cruz has really led on, and then the final speaker there, Ro Khanna, this bipartisan panel of people coming together to stop this from happening, because it's destroyed some lives, and these brave young women, and sadly it's happened to men too, and the state representative testifying there as well that his son took his own life because of what took place there, and how tragic.
It is. And also, it's great to see our country leadership right now with common sense take care of business on all factors and sections of life. But also within a framework of less government, but a strong government, allowing us to be free people, but still obviously laws to abide by. But great to see the corruption get minimized, if not totally cleaned out from various departments out there. It's 3:30, Monday, March 3rd. Thanks again for streaming in live with us. Tomorrow we have a lot of huge coverage as well when it comes to President Trump's speech at the joint session of Congress. Before we get to a live interview with Ashley Brassfield, our RSBN host, she'll be live from South Carolina. Of course, you guys have been following some of the news there with the wildfires. She's going to give us a quick update before we end our broadcast today. Let's go to a number of great sponsors here, including Colonial Metals Group. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com for more information on Colonial Metals Group. Freegoldguide.com. Always great to have gold, silver as a backup plan, especially with this urgent retirement warning that's out there. As we know, Warren Buffett, $133 billion in stocks was dumped recently. So you got to navigate a lot of these waters, don't you?
Yes, and that's why the best thing to do is scan that QR code now. Get your free 2025 Gold Guide, freegoldguide.com/RSBN for all that information there, whether it's just you looking out for your retirement or future plans for your family as well, with college payments on the horizon and those big monumental steps in life to take. Gold and silver can definitely back you up financially.
Definitely. And speaking of money, Tax Network USA, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. 800-357-1415 is the phone number. You see it there on the bottom of your screen. And it's always nice as well to be able to call someone and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, help me out.
Yes, especially these patriots here, they're experts, whether it's property taxes, state taxes, the federal government, and the income taxes there. So settle those back taxes now before April 15th. And we know how much the Biden administration added to the IRS agent count. So a big part of the government there. TNUSA.com/RSBN. Settle those back taxes now. Make sure you're paying the appropriate amount and not too much come tax day. 800-357-1415.
And another great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network is Crowd Health. And we know a lot of us do when it comes to health insurance. Sometimes if you're not getting it through your work, you got to navigate and figure out all of these ways, these plans. It's very confusing. Well, Crowd Health is here to help. It's really good to have common sense, and this is a great group that gets everything taken care of.
Yeah, so much of this is very confusing. So join crowdhealth.com, use code RSBN, then transition to how Crowd Health is doing these things differently, because we know we have basically a keep you sick system, and some of these big magnets, these big health insurance companies, they're making millions, billions in some cases, and then you're stuck with the bill. So if you've done this route, you know that it could be heartache, it could be a headache. So why don't you join crowdhealth.com and use promo code RSBN to look at some options.
Yeah, there's a lot of great details there. Crowd Health, an awesome sponsor at Right Side. We'll be talking more about this sponsor as well coming up. Also, angelpaste.com. So RSBN has we have a promo code there for you to get a discount off of various products on Angel Paste. We want to thank them for being a great sponsor to the network. Long time with us as well, Angel Paste. So it's great to see that. And also the reviews that we see on the website, good as well.
Oh yes, and you might have noticed I used that last year on the show itself, and I have a couple of bottles myself, so it keeps my hands nice and smooth. You can still be a manly man and do that. With the acid spray too, that's a great facial feature for guys as well. So for both sexes, great options. Angel Paste, Miracle Cream, angelpaste.com, Christian owned, hire veterans as well out of Spring, Texas.
Awesome. And also mypillow.com. Of course, huge percentages off there for more than 2,000 products from Mike Lindell. So it's almost like you don't even need to say more, because there's a lot of people have these products, but sometimes you got to freshen up, get a few more new ones. But there's more than 2,000 products, so I'd be surprised to see if anybody really has more than 2,000 of them. But Mike probably does.
Yeah, I might myself. It's up to 80% off of everything, but the mega sale featuring the My Cross, My Towels, and flannel sheets. It's a great way to get your day started, and you know if you're going to have a better day, a better morning, if you prepare the night before. So, mypillow.com/RSBN, a great option for you at home.
All right, so also it's 3:38 p.m. Eastern time. We know that we've been hearing reports out of South Carolina for more than 175 wildfires, and I'm also seeing it in North Carolina as well. So let's go live right now to RSBN host Ashley Brassfield, who is in South Carolina for us right now. Can you tell us the latest, the numbers and what you're seeing out there?
Hi, Matthew. Hi, Bobby. Great to see you. And yes, we are seeing over 175 fires that were ignited in South Carolina alone over the weekend. 4,600 acres actually that have taken over the state in the last 3 days. And their biggest fire was actually in Horry County, right outside of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where 2 fires actually were started, a 1,600 acre fire and an 800 acre fire. The larger of the fires is about 30% contained, with the smaller being about 80% contained. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, my former boss, actually calling for a state of emergency on Sunday for the state and allowing many of the fire resources to take advantage of the resources that they can have to better control this fire, actually. And we are seeing too live on many of social media, many utilizing resources from the South Carolina National Guard with 2 Black Hawk helicopters and a Chinook that have been able to douse some of those fires with a lot of water that they're able to obtain in the area. And many of these fires actually started due to the dry climate we're experiencing right now in the state. And we actually have been getting a cold front over the last 2 days, and we're expecting some rain tomorrow as well.
You know, Ashley, it's interesting because you've been in South Carolina for a while now. Is this common this time of year? Because I just can't remember personally ever really hearing about massive wildfires in the Carolinas.
Yes, and it's been a couple of years since that Horry County even has experienced a fire, but this time of year it can get a little dry. But of course, like I said, it's next to Myrtle Beach. This is a beach town tourist destination. But many of the grass, and with the lack of rain, it gets dry here as well. We saw the Los Angeles fires take place in a more arid climate, of course. But yes, like we were saying, many of these areas do get dry during this time of year. And when we don't get certain amounts of rain, obviously it is easy to ignite.
And then also, Ashley, though, to piggyback off of what Robert's saying there, so over the past 3 years, 4 years, I mean, over the summers, has there been a situation where we're looking at 175 fires throughout the entire state of South Carolina? Is that just a shocking number, or is that more like, hey, that's happened, it just hasn't been covered much, or is this something else involved with why these fires started?
Yes, I think that number is really shocking, and just the sheer number of those reports is insane to me as well. I think it bears some questions as to what possibly could have started this, and a lot of them are saying, dry climate at this time of year. We haven't experienced some of the rain in the state, but I have never heard in a single weekend 175 fires taking up 4,600 acres across the state like it has, and it does bear some questions. I think there's going to be some interesting reports coming out potentially in the near future, especially with fire starting in North Carolina and Georgia, especially, that are experiencing.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting time to see exactly how everything started. Ashley, thanks again for joining us. We're also going to be interviewing you a bit later about tomorrow when it comes to President Trump's huge speech, a historic, epic speech. Let's just get a preview now from just your thoughts on the fact that he's going to be speaking to a joint session of Congress tomorrow. Okay, I'm not sure if she heard us on that question, but Ashley, did you hear?
I think I heard a little bit of that, Matthew.
Okay.
I think I heard a little bit, yes, but I'm looking forward to speaking with you all tomorrow, and yes, thank you for having me on, and keep praying for the Carolinas. We need it here.
Definitely. Ashley Brassfield, RSBN host, thank you so much for that live report. Right there, I mean, that's what's cool about technology. You're able to still, even though sometimes the cell feeds aren't perfect, you're still able to get places without a big satellite truck and all that. So
and on location too. And I mean, even in dire situations like this, or I think back to, Butler, Pennsylvania, as sad as that was, we then had footage from other people who become citizen journalists immediately because everyone's got one of these things. So
exactly,
that's helpful to find really where the story's at and to keep people honest, in turn.
Exactly. So yeah, those images out of South Carolina and North Carolina and other places, similar in some ways to Southern California. So, yeah, we'll monitor that story as well. So, obviously, if there's any breaking news, we'll bring it to you here at RSBN Live. As of right now, what we're looking at is tomorrow for our coverage. Definitely join us here as we will be showing that full speech to the joint session of Congress by President Trump. He said he's going to tell it like it is. He's going to do that tomorrow, and he always does anyway. But within the framework of a speech, though, to both House, and the Senate is going to be quite awesome.
I'm looking forward to it, and really getting all that information out to the American people. There's no better way to see your president, well, outside of Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, of course, but a speech like this is a way to telecast to millions of Americans just all of the successes in 6 short weeks, mixed with the pageantry of being in the House chamber. So we look forward to that then, unless there's breaking news. Matthew Alvarez will be on the night side this evening, and stay tuned for some more exciting coverage as we're taking care of everything, whether it's the Beltway, outside of the Beltway, as you saw with Ashley. We are here on the right side of history with you, the American people.
Well said, perfectly said. Nothing else to add to that. Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you a bit later.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Parents, do your kids know what courage really means? It's about standing up for America even when there's a target on your back. That's why Mike Huckabee's team created the Kids Guide to the Courage of the President. This important guide tells kids everything they need to know about President Trump's unwavering courage, and you can get it for free. With your free order, you'll receive free bonus gifts, including the Kids Guide to President Trump and a Christmas ornament commemorating Trump's call for us to fight. Get it all for free at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Families across the nation have arrived at a heartbreaking crossroad to surrender their beloved animals at alarming rates due to inflation and soaring costs of living.
There are so many overcrowded shelters. So many dogs need a home, but it's all of us working together to solve this crisis.
This fight requires both doers and dollars. Join us at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. Please sign up today.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.